What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments, and also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. Currently, in the dimensional gap, a dragon is floating around. Great Red floated around bored. TCH. At first, it was funny but it is slowly getting annoying. Office just doesn't give up and now even created an entire fucking organization just to kill me. Normally I wouldn't mind the challenges. I mean, more challengers equal more fights equal more fun, but this is getting annoying. The second strongest creature, gods, other dragons, devils, fallen angels, and even a fucking Neko. It's this much even someone like me can take without wanting to kill everything around you. Great Red turns his head and looks into the distance. Flying towards him is yet another squad of the Chaos Brigade encased by a shield spell. Great Red snorts. TCH. Back again. Let us see who exactly is here this time. If it is Ophis, I might have to try this time. Great Red looks through the brigade to look around for Ophis or any of her stronger lackeys who have tried to attack him on past occasions. After doing so for several minutes and them slowly getting near him, he notices how one of them transforms and by doing so changes their height and body shape. That one looks rather familiar. He seems to be of the dragon race. But I can't quite place who exactly he is, but that isn't important at the moment. They are getting close. The Great Red is now building up a dragon beam. He simply wants to obliterate his enemies. He doesn't have the time nor the nerves to deal with this stuff. But he stops. He just got an idea after remembering what exactly that dragon fellow did. The Great Red wanted to punch himself at how simple the answer to his problems is. Shapeshifting. Oh my me, how could I forget this? I can simply shapeshift myself down to size and stay off the radar, maybe even leave this gap. I mean, with only Ophis fighting me, it was fun and it was worth the flying space and quietness I got out of it, but now? It's getting annoying, not going to lie. But first I gotta kill these rats. Can't have any witnesses of my plan going into action. After convincing himself of his own plan, the Great Red decided that it is time to slaughter these idiotic beings. Charging his dragon breath beam, again, he simply shoots it towards the incoming challengers. Upon impact, the impressive amount of lackeys were getting incinerated and demolished. They don't stand a chance against this attack. After about half a minute of constant screaming and the sound of the beam shooting through the dimensional gap, it all stops. He can still hear the beam in the distance, but there is no screaming inside of it. Just his energy traveling until it will vanish later. Alright, time to shapeshift. The Great Red shifts down to a body length of 10 meters, roughly 32 feet, and a span length of 20 meters, roughly 65 feet. Great Red looks down at his own body and frowns before uttering, This makes me feel so inferior, but for my continuation of existence, without constant attacks, I'll do this. He now is thinking what exactly he shall do now. He knows that he needs to escape Ophis, but how? Shapeshifting won't be enough to get rid of the constant attacks. After thinking about this for several more minutes, he comes to a conclusion. There is only one way to stop this. Leaving the dimensional gap. After bracing himself and making himself sure of his decision, the GRE opens a portal in which he, currently that is, Tsu, only senses natural energy and no magic. Well. Would you look at this? A dimension with only natural energy, no magic, sacred gears, or any type of witchcraft. Point 2 seems like the perfect dimension for me to lay down in. I mean, Ophis has the gap, so why should she be after me anymore? This is Ophis we are talking about. She would probably try to kill me for disturbing her. She holds petty grudges. Well, even if she is going to come after me, I can worry about that later. Great Red enters the portal, but, instead of any kind of overworld-looking planet or empty-looking space, he is in a weird fleshy and wet cave. Wait a minute, WTF is this? Is this the inside of something? Okay, calm down Red, you can escape from this. Simply make a beam of magic and blast this thing to hell. He shouts before calming down. Great Red tries to charge a dragon breath beam, but it doesn't work. The beam isn't able to get big enough to be shot. It just simply disappears before it reaches that point. That's when he realizes something. His magic is being absorbed, which means his attacks also get absorbed, and that process happens before he can even charge that attack fully. Great Red sighs. Well, guess I have to wait until this. Something eats again. I can simply find out in which direction its mouth is and then esca. Before he is able to finish his thoughts, he notices something. His seemingly endless amount of natural energy and magical power are disappearing. This has never happened before except in a fight with Ophis. Great Red's eyes widened in shock and surprise. What the? How? What is this being? It is strong enough to not only not explode by absorbing my power, and it is doing it at such a rate that I am actually feeling drained. And I'm not even here for 10 minutes. Maybe I can shapeshift again. I mean, if I go back to my original size, then this something should simply explode, right? Well, it is worth a try. The Great Red tries to shapeshift back to his original size. But something is preventing it. And it is this weird being. This weird something is absorbing his magic before he can make himself bigger. Great Red is by now sweat dropping and slowly but surely getting annoyed. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Why is this not working? The Great Red is now raging inside his mind. But he stops. He realizes something. Wait, oh fuck, now I know why. If this thing is absorbing everything that flies around here, including magic, then I can't shapeshift into a bigger form than I am in currently. Let's see. I spread my magic like a cloud outside of my body. I then get possession of that cloud and use it as an extension of my own body. Doing this process gives me the ability to get bigger. Normally this would work, but it seems like this something is absorbing the cloud faster than I can generate and possess it. That leaves only one option: shrinking. I mean, it works the exact opposite. I am using the magic inside my body. This thing is also absorbing the magic inside my body, but I don't need to concentrate on generating a cloud. It is already here. After all, the coils in my body will always be flowing with magic. It is getting less and less, but it is a steady stream and it is there. So I could use this to shrink and harden my skin. Doing this should prevent this something from penetrating my skin and absorbing the magic inside of me. Suddenly a glow could be seen inside of the stomach of whatever the Great Red is in. This glow is coming from the Great Red. Who would have thought? He is shrinking. He is by now only 7.5 meters, 24.6 feet, long, tall, and has a span length of 15 meters, roughly 49 feet. He shrank by 25%. But that is not all. His skin is now shiny. Like rubies. His eyes are golden and the spikes on his back became emeralds like crystals. Great Red is feeling exhausted. This will be enough. He chuckles. I am so depleted, but I can feel that this something isn't able to penetrate my skin. It seems like I will be able to survive this. Thank me. Suddenly he coughs and breathes heavily. But I can't do anything now? I can feel myself slipping into unconsciousness, and with that, he falls unconscious for years to come. Ooh. We now go outside of the creature to see two men stand before a tree. A big tree. So big it rivals the mountains in height. The men both have rather grayish skin and two 5-inch bumps on their forehead which look like horns. They both have the same robe on. A white robe with 3 tomo on each side on their collar, as well as 9 tomo on their back with a symbol above the tomo. 4 circles with a single point in the middle and 1 line on each side going away from the biggest circle. These two men are Hagoromo Otsutsuki and Hamura Otsutsuki, the sons of Kagaya Otsutsuki, also called the Rabbit Goddess, or Rabbit Tyrant, which is the name the two sons just recently received from a merchant trying to make fast money by scamming people. Why are they in front of this tree, you may ask? Well, it is rather simple. They want answers and their friend back. Their mother Kagaya is the founder of a cult. That cult is serving Kagaya and the God Tree. But this isn't just some friendly cult or normal cult. Kagaya has been enforcing the members to do a ritual for eons. There is only one problem in the eyes of the two sons. People who have been chosen for the ritual have never been seen since the day they have left for the ritual. The two brothers saw this as a simple coincidence. After all, these are the days with more thieves and bandits than ever before in history. But one day ago there has been a new batch of cult members chosen for the ritual. Included in those members is Haori, a close friend of Hagoromo and Hamura, and even a potential lover of the former. After Haori gave Hagoromo and Hamura a treasure of hers with a sad look on her face, they were convinced of something. And that something is that the ritual isn't safe at all, and that it wasn't just a coincidence that all those people are disappearing. But they couldn't do anything. Their mother was watching them from a distance and they knew that, so begrudgingly so, they had to let her go. After she as well as the others went missing and the concern for the girl increased inside of the two men, they asked their mother what exactly the ritual was. But she wouldn't answer her. Shortly after this, a toad told them to investigate it if they want answers and seek him out after doing so. And that is how we got here. Hagoromo turns away from the tree and looks at his brother, looks back at Hagoromo, and they both nod. Hamura activates his special eyes. The so-dubbed Byakugan is also known as the all-seeing white eye. Himura's eyes become even more white than they already are, and beside both of his eyes, veins pop up. While using his eyes he sees thousands upon thousands of bodies. He is by now panicking and telling his brother what he is seeing. His brother Hagoromo wastes no time anymore and just rushes at the tree and cuts open the ground. He finds a cave with a lot of bodies wrapped in branch-like things. He and his brother are by now freaking out and disgusted even. They search for their friend and they find her. Sadly, she is already dead. Her face is so white you could almost think she wasn't human anymore. But that's not all. Hamura sees something. Something is there. It is lengthy and wide. It seems to have something similar to wings, and it is deep inside the ground. 3. He turns around to tell his brother, but his words get caught up in his throat due to him seeing something. His brother's eyes are red with 3 tomo in them, and he looks livid. They just became the Sharingan. After Himura's shock went by, he tells his brother what he saw. Both of them are intrigued, but they know they can't do anything at the moment due to how deep it was. Everything from here is like canon. Hagoromo trains in the arts of a sage, and together with his brother, he fights his mother. We now go to them defeating her and the 10 tails. Hagoromo currently has his right arm stretched out and touches the shoulder of his mother. His brother Hamura is doing the same but with his left arm instead. Hagoromo is now feeling rather confident to tell his mother how exactly he felt about her plans. "This is it, mother. Your reign ends here. You will not harm any humans anymore just for your own selfish goals." Kagaya is frowning and shedding several tears at her son's betrayal. She shouts at her firstborn, "Hagoromo, you do not know what you are doing. If you do this, then the world will go into chaos again. My plans will be ruined and peace will be broken apart." Hagoromo sheds a lone tear after getting a short flashback of his childhood. "Not if I and Hamura are here to prevent it. We will seal you in the tree now whether you like it or not." Hamura and Hagoromo once again push their hands forward onto their mother's chest area. 6 paths planetary devastation, chant both Hagoromo and Hamura. And just like that, Kagaya, the mother of Hagoromo and Hamura, the rabbit goddess or rabbit tyrant, is getting sealed. And with her getting sealed, the 10 tails is getting spit out of her body. But due to depletion, it isn't doing much at the moment except for glaring at the 2 men while gagging heavily. Hagoromo and Hamura make the quick decision to seal the beast as well, but not before stripping it of its power. But before being able to do so, the beast spits something out. It is a ruby-colored statue, shaped like a dragon, a mythical creature that humans either fear or honor. It has golden eyes and emerald spikes on its back. It is roughly 7.5 meters long and has a 15 meters wide span length. But they have to ignore it for now. Hagoromo, after shaking off the random object which came out of the 10 tails' mouth, he focuses on the beast and chants another technique. "Well, then 10 tails. It is time to end your reign as well. May you rest in hell." Sage arts. Demonic beast sealing technique. And now, human path arts. Body and soul splitting technique. By using these 2 techniques, the beast was split into 10 different bodies. The soul, if there was any, was split into 9 parts. These 9 parts were cleansed of any memory and their past emotions of pure hate. They are practically clean and new souls made by Hagoromo. 9 of these bodies are in marble like balls and are currently floating in front of Hagoromo. These bodies are also the ones with the soul fragments. The 10th body, also dubbed Gedo statue, is currently melting into a mountain in which it shall be stopped from escaping ever again. But Hagoromo isn't done yet. Planetary devastation, he chants. The body of the beast, the Gedo statue, is now getting covered by rubble, mountains, trees, dirt, and everything that is near the destroyed landside. Even pieces from the bottom of the nearby ocean are lifted into the air. It grows up to the size of 37,932 million square kilometers, roughly 14,646 million square miles, and gets shot up into the sky where it will lock itself in place. It shall become the moon of Earth it seems. But Hagoromo notices that Earth would now have 2 moons, but 2 moons aren't necessary. 1 moon is more than enough. So Hagoromo uses his Rinnegan to shoot the old moon away where it crashes into Jupiter and becomes one of its moons. So now only one remains, which is the new one with the Gedo statue inside. Hagoromo looks up at the sky sadly. Goodbye mother. May you rest in peace. Hamura comes over and places a hand on his shoulder. Hey brother, let's check out that weird object now. It can't be a coincidence that it was inside the 10 tails. Hagoromo and Hamura check out the statue and Hagoromo says he will seal it inside a cave. Just in case this is some last resort of the beast. After this, they discuss the entire problem with the tailed beasts and Hamura still left for the moon. Ooh, everything from here on is the same up to the day Hagoromo dies. Hagoromo is currently inside his mindscape walking towards an awake Kurama. The other beasts are sleeping. Kurama. We need to talk about something important. Kurama comes over and sits down in front of his supposed father or creator. What is it, old man? I already know that I'm supposed to protect my siblings when you die. What else could be there to discuss? Hagoromo just chuckled at this. Well, I'm happy that you remember your promise to me. But this is something else. Do you remember the story about the 10 tails? Kurama nods. Good, because this is something I left out. When I and my brother fought the beast, it spat out a statue. It was hardened and full of life energy and something else, something I do not know. Just to make sure it isn't a last resort of the beast, more specifically I sealed it in a cave. I will give it to Ashura, my son, when I die. I want you to make sure that if that statue awakens and becomes a new 10 tails, you must kill it or absorb it. Whatever fits in with you. Kurama was just shocked that something like this existed but nodded nonetheless. Good, that was all I had to tell you at the moment. You can go back to sleep now. Kurama nods. Unbeknownst to them, there was a certain raccoon named Shukaku who just woke up and heard it. He just shrugged it off as Kurama's business, so he doesn't care, but he still registered all the information shared between the two. And he was intrigued, to say the least, and as to not raise any suspicion he just goes back to sleep. Ooh. Meanwhile, Hagoromo woke up and called for Ashura, his son. Ashura appeared before Hagoromo in a short bow and a smile on his face. You called for me, father. What is it I can help you with? Hagoromo closed his eyes and smiled. His son Ashura is one of the only things that kept him from loafing in self-guilt and possibly suicide. But that is currently beside the point. Yes, come sit my boy. I have something important to tell you. Ashura nodded and sat down beside Hagoromo's bed. Ashura, I am going, to be honest with you. I am not going to survive another 24 hours. This shocked Ashura to the core. He knew his father was old and sick, but he thought he had at least a couple of years left. A lone tear shed from his eye as he answered his father. I see. Is this what you wanted to tell me? Hagoromo chuckled at the reaction of his son. Now my boy, no need to be so sad. I have done terrible things in my life. I don't deserve a life of full length. But no, that wasn't everything. Ashura was confused. His father pretty much told him everything about himself and his past. So what could be there left to know for him? But what could it be that you need to tell me? I already know pretty much everything about you and your past. Hagoromo just smiled and answered his son. Well yes, you do know pretty much everything there is to know about me, my child. But I left out one detail when telling you my past. Ashura was shocked. After Indra left, they swore to each other to not keep any secret. Now calm down, and let me explain, child. Ashura nodded and calmed himself. It all began at the defeat of my mother and her pet, the 10 tails. You know what happened there. But I left something out. And that was that the detail about the 10 tails gagging and coughing something up. He spat out a ruby statue with gold eyes, emerald spikes on its back, which were of great size for such material. But anyways, having feared that this may be a last resort of the 10 tails, I sealed it inside a cave. But now that I'll die, who will protect the world if it becomes a 10 tails inside that cave? And who knows? It may be able to power up so much that it could break the seal. So I have decided something. I will give it to you, my son. Ashura was shocked. He knew of the 10 tails and its great power, and to think that something which could potentially become a 10 tails was just here in this land was disturbing. And that his father didn't even think of mentioning it was even more disturbing. That statue will be my last gift to you. I know you will possibly be angry with me for not telling you, but please just ignore me ignoring our promise. I always sensed a great hatred within Indra and a dark presence lurking around. I didn't want them to know about the statue. They would try to use it for power. Ashura calmed down after hearing those words. Because, he knows that he is right. Indra would use it for power, and that dark presence his father sensed even more so. After all, he and his father suspect that this presence is the reason for the corruption of Indra. Before Ashura could voice his thought about this, his father continued. Now then, this is pretty much everything I had left to say. I will release the tailed beasts tomorrow morning and transport them to their preferred living area. You can leave now, Ashura. I'm going to sleep. Ashura nodded. He stood up and simply left the room. Little did he know when he is going to check up on his father in the middle of the day, tomorrow, that he would find his father dead with a smile on his face. He died after releasing the beasts. His eyes somehow were gone and destroyed, but that doesn't matter. Ashura made sure to make an entire graveyard just for his father. His last words, or at least the last ones he knows of, were, "You can leave now, Ashura. I'm going to sleep." Ooh, we will now go to Ashura's deathbed. A lot has changed since the death of Hagoromo Otsutsuki, the god of Ninshu, the sage of six paths. Ashura has had two sons just like his father. But these two aren't twins like he and his brother Indra, who has died around 2 years before this day. He and Ashura have fought to the death. But back to Ashura's children. They have a 5 years age gap between each other. The names of those two children are Omoikane Uzumaki and Hachiman Senju. Currently, Ashura is still sitting in his bed and his sons are in front of him. Ashura closed his eyes and smiled before speaking up. I'm proud of you, my children. Now, both of you know that I'm supposed to die in only 24 hours. Both of his sons nodded. But neither cried. After all, they already knew this. Good. Now then, I want to give one of you a present. I have gotten it from my father and now I shall give it to one of you as your father. Omoikane, the older brother, is a very calm and collective person. He is wisdom itself. His appearance is that of a very normal man. The only difference to a normal man is his hair. It is crimson red. As he steps forward to question his father what this gift shall be, his brother Hachiman suddenly shouts at his father. Father, we are at war with the Uchiha. We don't have time for a stupid gift. We need to protect the civilians and the world from those power-seeking bastards. After he was done, Omoikane turned to him and calmly yet threateningly says these words. My brother and ally in battle. You shall not say another word until father has decided that he is done speaking his words. Hachiman just huffed. Omoikane turned back to his father. Father, may I ask what this present shall be and what purpose it serves? Ashura nodded, wanting to come to that topic. Well, it is this dragon statue. It is 7.5 meters, roughly 24.5 feet, long and has a span length of 15 meters, 50 feet. It has the same color as your hair, Omoikane. Its eyes are golden. On its back are emerald spikes. It is worth more than anything when counting the materials, and seeing how it is something my father owned, the price will probably become even double the amount. But that is beside the point, because you wouldn't be able to sell it even if you wanted to. Anyway, I want to give this statue to one of you. Decide between yourselves who shall get this statue. But before Ashura was able to finish his sentence, his son Hachiman interrupted him. Yet again, are you kidding me? I could have been fighting on the front line, trying to save the world. And you call me here for a fucking stupid statue? Give it to Omoikane, I don't need this stupid shit. And with those final words, he left the chamber, leaving behind a shocked Ashura and a disappointed Omoikane. Omoikane spoke next. I'm so sorry, father. Due to him basically being raised with war, he began to think that war is the only way to peace. I am truly sorry to not have raised him better as you became older. I'll gladly accept the present and I will treasure it as much as I can. I shall make you proud and protect this statue from any robber. Ashura nodded at this, even if he was still pretty sad because of his son. Very well, Omoikane. Here, have this map. He hands him a map with an X on it. The X are the coordinates for the cave. Just use the rat hand sign and you will be able to open the cave and go inside. Omoikane nods. Very well, father. I shall honor you and grandfather forever. I hope you have a nice last night. I shall excuse myself. I know we will see each other again when both of us are dead. So I have one thing to say. Goodbye, father, and rest in peace. As he said this, a tear slipped from his eye, but he quickly wiped it. After doing so, he stood up and went to leave. Ashura said this though, "I love you, my children. Take care," and went to sleep one last time. The next day Omoikane couldn't see his father even though he was requested to do so to pay his respect to him. But he has already done so, so he has decided to travel to Demon Country for the statue. He has left behind a note with his father's last words though, in his last words, his respects for his father. Omoikane has already collected the statue by now and sealed it into a seal on his robe. Currently, Omoikane is going towards an island. It is a pure anomaly, as it is surrounded by hundreds upon hundreds of whirlpools. He decided to live there. After sealing the statue in a scroll, he went on his way. He has already built an altar with a throne inside, on the island. He has also used all the golden tokens he had and extracted the gold from them. He, after completing this process, then smelted the gold and made a stand for the statue. It has diamonds and the biggest ruby he had in possession on it. The stand is currently standing in the altar, waiting to be used for the statue. On this journey, which shall last several weeks, from the future border of the Demon Country to the island of Whirlpool. 5. He has a lot of followers of the former Ninpo way, and he also met an entire village's population about to be slaughtered. He quickly rushed into battle and dispatched of the thugs. He approached the villagers with a deal. He would give them a place in Whirlpool Country if they were to help him build it. And just like this, it happened. He already solved the population problem without even having a complete village or country yet. The country was in full construction mode. Some of the men are hunting and building while others are guarding important places. The women are bearing children, taking care of the children, and making clothes, pots, and just useful items in general. Omoikane is also working hard. He has become the leader of the country and now has to permit or forbid certain actions. He has also put the statue on the stand he built. He also carved something in the stand. This statue exists as a reminder of the great. The mythical animal known as dragons shall be the symbol animal of the Uzumaki. All hail the Great Red. No one has found out why he carved those words and how he even got the idea. In fact, he himself doesn't know, but they all accepted it. It seemed like a nice idea. He has also donated his sperm for any woman in the clan to have if they shall desire so. He has not taken any woman as a wife yet, but he probably has about 200 pregnant women with his seed inside. The men that have joined him are currently building houses and streets. The country slowly is coming together. The population is currently 500 people. 6. Over the years Omoikane has met someone. It was his new wife Aino Uzumaki. He shortly after meeting her married her and had a child who has no name because the author is bad with names and the child is unimportant anyway. Ooh, we now skip a lot of time. But I shall sum up the history of the nations. The entire clan mess goes the same as canon. With the Uchiha and Senju, there are small changes due to them knowing a lot more about their history. The tailed beasts changed a lot. The 9 tails hasn't been sighted in over 900 years. To public knowledge, 7 out of the other 8 have been captured and are now used as weapons. Those who have not been captured are Shukaku and Kurama. Kurama is just hiding inside Whirlpool Country and has made a pact with the Uzumaki. They shall hide him from the Senju and Uchiha, and he will protect this island by using his power to manipulate the weather around the island. Also, when in time of war the Whirlpool Country is at risk, he shall be sealed in someone, but he will be able to leave the seal to roam the area. Kurama has agreed to this and has since been hiding in Whirlpool. Now with Shukaku, it is similar. But instead of it being the Whirlpool Country, it is the Wind Country with the Sand Village. Using his sand manipulation, he and the first and second Cage have made a pact. He shall protect Wind Country and in exchange, he will be left alone. But they betrayed him. They sealed him so he will be forced to protect the sand the moment the First World War started, but the public don't know this. They think that Shukaku still roams the deserts of the Wind Country. He is absolutely livid, but he agrees due to it being better if he does it willingly than being in a Jinchuriki who will force and use you. Back to the Whirlpool. Since Omoikane, they have drastically evolved. Currently, 50,000 people live there. 10,000 of those people are trained in the basic ninja arts, kunai, shuriken, and chakra usage. But only 5,000 are truly shinobi with a license. The members of those villages are simple to be separated. Civilians, Kagaya clan and Uzumaki clan. But the Kagaya are currently only made of 10 people. Most of the clan had enough of the peace and went to the mist on their own to wreak havoc. The Uzumaki are made out of 9,700 people and the random civilians are the rest. 80% of the shinobi forces are Uzumaki, with 3,964 shinobi being Uzumaki clansmen. 6 of the Kagaya are shinobi and the rest of the 1030 shinobi being civilians. The ex-leader and father of Ashina Uzumaki has decided to seal the statue though. The statue seemed to be talked about in the entire world, more specifically in the clans all over the world, and the minor civilian villages craved it. Even the Senju, who were told to not be greedy, were craving it. So Ashina's father has sealed it when Ashina was only 3 years old, which was roughly 40 years before Hashirama is born. Ashina Uzumaki is now the village and clan leader. Now in his late 70s, he is somehow still one of the strongest Uzumaki and the most experienced seal master. But there was a problem. The Stone, Mist, and Cloud village are on their borders. They want to kill the entire clan. The shinobi are almost completely wiped out by now. Only 0.6% of the shinobi remain and all of those are Uzumaki. A little bit above 0.3%, 32 people to be exact, of the Uzumaki clan were able to flee the main Uzu village. They are currently residing in the cave of Kurama with their personal belongings. Another 5 Uzumaki were on missions outside of the country and decided to lay low. Kurama has been sealed though, so he won't be able to help them if they are found out. He has been sealed in a girl named Kushina Uzumaki, the moment Ashina noticed around 50,000 shinobi moving towards the village. He has not argued and went along with the sealing due to the 3 villages possibly suspecting him of being in the village and trying to capture him. Kushina is the granddaughter of Ashina of Uzushio, has been the person chosen to hold Kurama. She has taken all her belongings in sealing scrolls and traveled to the Leaf. You know the rest of her story up to October 10th, but there is something she doesn't notice until she arrived in Konoha. Ashina has sneaked a scroll into her sealing scroll which will show the location of the statue. Little does he know that Kushina decides that she won't open it. Instead, she will keep it and give it to her child if she does have one in the future. She knows of the tradition of the clan head giving their child the statue. After all, her grandfather Ashina told her how his father inherited a massive statue, which he sealed away after the villages and clans found out about it. She is sure that this scroll shows the location of the statue. It isn't hard to miss. There is literally the kanji for statue on a piece of paper attached to the scroll. But she doesn't want it. She hasn't even been in Konoha for 5 days and already knows that the civilians are money-loving scumbags, and they would do everything to get that statue. Currently, the remaining shinobi are trying to kill as many enemies as possible. But they are cornered from all sides. Ashina is panting while standing in front of the remaining shinobi of his village while also glaring into the eyes of the 2nd Mizukage, 3rd Tsuchikage, and 3rd Raikage, as well as the shinobi behind the 3 cages. The cages simply chuckled at the sight. The oh-so-great Ashina Uzumaki reduced to such a pathetic man. But inside they are angry. They checked the village of Uzushio but nothing was there. Only empty houses. Not a single seal was found, nor was the statue which is spoken of in legends. And most importantly, they couldn't find the 9 tails in the village either. Ashina smirked as he saw the livid cages. He saw right through them and chuckled sarcastically, knowing the exact answer to his next question. "Oh, something not right?" The shinobi behind him laughed. "Could it be that you weren't able to find something that you intended to? Ha ha ha. Too bad I had my shinobi burn everything that could be of use to you. I know that you are destroying us because of our alliance with Konoha and in hopes of finding something that could help you in your quest of crushing them." The 3 cages stopped chuckling. They, by the time Ashina stopped speaking, had a frown on their face. Angry at being found out and even angrier at not being able to get anything. What Ashina said though was of course not true. The remaining 24 civilians had all the seals. They gave them the seals and all the teachings they needed to make themselves shinobi and protect themselves. Oh, did I hit the spot? Hehe. Shinobi of Uzushio. This is a lost battle. But to ensure the safety of Konoha, try to take as many high-ranking shinobi as you can. Don't leave any of them alive. You are able to finish them. No mercy. And with a battle cry, it began. The Massacre of Uzushio. It is a legendary battle. The remaining shinobi of Uzushio came to a total number of 50. and those 50 alone were able to kill 2,000 shinobi. In statistics, it was shown that this would come to an average kill count of 40 shinobi per Uzumaki shinobi. This was the Battle of Legends. And people remembered why the Uzumaki clan was so feared. When Konoha got this news, they decided to print all their shinobi vests with the Uzumaki clan symbol. As a reminder of their old and now sadly dead friends who even in a deadly situation tried to save the village hidden in the leaves. There is now only one alive Uzumaki, and they, Shinobi Council and 3rd Hokage, will make sure that she shall not be harmed severely, to make sure that their old friends will not die out. Little do they know that 2 of the clan heads are having other motives. The Hyuga clan head wants to try and get one of the younger members to marry the Uzumaki and get all the fortune and techniques, and the Shimura clan head who is Danzo Shimura. While the Shimura clan is nearly all died out, it still counts, so Danzo was named clan head a few years back. He also had a secret motive. He wanted the seals to overthrow his ex-best friend Hiruzen Sarutobi. He believes that Hiruzen isn't a good leader and should be replaced. Fortunately for everyone in the world, that won't happen for a very long time. Before going into the spicy stuff called the Nine Tails attack and the Naruto story, we will now check on a certain meeting between the factions in the high school DxD world. After almost an entire millennium, they noticed something. The Great Red disappeared, but something else was also wrong. The Chaos Brigade, which was created about 1100 years ago, has been seen being active. As if they are planning to do something else but just make the Great Red disappear. The 3 biblical factions, the Norse gods and the Greeks, are worried. As Sirzex, the leader of the Devil faction, sat down, he spoke. Now then, let's begin this meeting, shall we? Because I have a lot of questions on the location of the Great Red and the behavior of the Chaos Brigade. As Sirzex saw no one who would start to speak, he sighed. He simply glanced at his wife and asked her through a look. Yes, through a look, if he was allowed to speak first and present the evidence they have gathered. She nodded and he smiled before he spoke up first. Well, since no one is talking, I guess I shall start this meeting. After all, I am the one who asked you to come here. After an incident with a Rouge Fallen Angel group who left the dimensional gap, I decided to investigate. Imagine my surprise when I interrogated one of the fallen angels and found out that the Great Red disappeared 971 years ago and has not been seen since. We do not know where it is or who is responsible. Not even the fallen angels knew where it went. Also, while further interrogating him, we found out about the Chaos Brigade becoming active again. It seems they have not done anything but wait for the last 900 years, which is when they realized the Great Red, their target, disappeared. And now out of nowhere, they became active again. Looking around in the round, he saw several shocked but also an intrigued faces. Zeus was the only one who was looking rather passive, besides Odin, who fell asleep for some reason. Michael and Azazel are both shocked. They didn't know of this happening. They knew the Great Red was gone. They found out around the same time as the red-haired devil, but they didn't know that it was 971 years since the disappearance. Zeus spoke next. This is indeed very troubling, if I may say so. The possibly strongest being in existence is gone and no one knows where it is. I already knew of the Chaos Brigade though. I saw a squad of theirs trying to steal Greek treasures. Sorry Sirzex, but I personally don't know more than that. Maybe this old fart WHO is sleeping for some reason would know. Zeus explained before turning to Odin, who is snoring, and started shouting at him. Who of course woke up because of the shouting. Me? What is it you, brat? I was sleeping. No need to shout at me. Odin snapped at the god. Zeus answered rather calmly after his sudden outburst. We are currently discussing the disappearance of the Great Red and the recent activities of the Chaos Brigade. Do you anything about that? Odin simply laughed, confusing everyone else. What, you only now found out? I thought you summoned us only now because before we still had some scary war times going on. I thought you guys already knew. That old scaly lizard had enough of the Chaos Brigade and simply left. With that, the room fell quiet. This old man just told them that not only did he know that the Great Red disappeared but also indirectly told them that he knows where it went. Everyone quickly realized this, and to be frankly, they shouted at Odin. It is the 9th of October. We will now go to a certain island. This island is surrounded by whirlpools and rubble of old structures as well as various skeletons. Hidden on this island is a statue. To be specific, it is hidden inside of an underground cave. The entrance to the cave is hidden by an illusion that was created by using fuinjutsu. Inside of this cave is the infamous statue of the Uzumaki. It looks like a dragon. It seems to have 4 wings. One pair of wings which have a span length of 15 meters. And a smaller pair of wings which have a span length of 10 meters. They are rather lengthy and slim while the bigger ones are both long and wide. This ruby-colored statue is the hardened body of the Great Red with the gold stand below it. We now go inside of the statue. More specifically into the mind of the statue's inhabitant. Where am I? What is happening and why do I feel so small? Great Red groaned inside his mind while trying to make out the situation he is in. Right. I hardened myself to escape that weird creature. And when I woke up with the bare minimum of magic left to stay awake, I more or less set up that human Omoikane, was his name I think, and his family into praising and praying for me. Hey, all those praises and prayers have slowly but surely helped regenerate my reserves to a satisfying amount. I do not know how that works, but meh. It does, so I'm not complaining. Without those prayers I would have taken nearly twice as long to regenerate to this degree. Prayers are truly a magnificent power. Sadly, I'm still at 60% power at most. Slowly but surely the Great Red comes back to complete consciousness and tries to make out his location and situation. Seems like I'm underground again. I can sense nothing near me. The temperature on the outer shell is too cold for it to be overground. But this time it is actually a cave and not some stupid stomach. I wonder what happened to that creature, not going to lie. Men not like it is important at the moment. I need to get out of here and look around. Sadly, I won't be able to do that just yet. I still don't have enough power to unharden myself without any kind of drawbacks, and I won't risk it with the possibility of any creatures of that caliber lurking around. Great Red is kind of frustrated with being pretty much useless, so he is thinking of a way to talk even while being hardened. Who knows? Maybe someone will visit him and he could explain his situation to that person, creature. Finally, he gets an idea. Maybe he can project his thoughts and/or voice by streaming out his magic outside of the statue's shell. That way, if someone comes into this cave, he can simply tell them what is going on. Small time skip. Great Red is by now grinning in his head. He has started the process of streaming out his magic around 2 hours ago, and when he tried some while ago he was able to make a sound. Now after 2 hours of doing this he is sure that he can actually talk, and not only that, he can already use some kind of third eye. It's as if he can see even though his eyes are hardened, and not only can he see normally, no, he can also look around corners as if it was a straight path. Test. 1 2 3 4. I am imprisoned. Alright, it's working. Finally the process is complete. Now then, let's see. The Great Red then looks around himself and tries to make out any type of sign for an outside activity of another being, creature. Which he doesn't find. Instead, he finds something radiating a blinding glow. A blue glow to be exact. This glow is coming from the barrier cast by Ashina Uzumaki's father. What the? I couldn't sense that when I was still streaming out magic out of my hardened body. It seems my senses have dulled while being in this hardened state and being so weakened. Well, I guess that does make sense. The Great Red comes over his shock and looks back towards the barrier. This does seem very familiar to natural energy, but it seems as if it was altered with. Doesn't have that natural feeling of either peace and quietness or chaos and terror with it. This energy seems to be empty from any emotions or intentions except for the one of keeping me here, of course. He sighs. Well, that does make sense. I pretty much have a body comparable to those weird crystals humans use for trading and as currency. My owner probably did this to make sure I don't get stolen. He sighs once again. Well, might as well try to get my magic outside of this barrier. Maybe I could actually see the overworld by doing so. And with that, Great Red begins trying to stream his energy outside the barrier. He doesn't care how long it will take, but he wants to try and get at least some contact to the overworld. Maybe he could lure someone in here and convince them to free him from his hardened state. He will get free and he will do everything for it. The possibility of Ophis coming here and finishing him off is too big. He would even volunteer to be someone's sacred gear or something similar by making himself one to escape this defenseless state. Of course, he would only do that for someone who has certain traits. He won't bow to some pervert or even worse, rapist. Someone who is power hungry also won't work. He needs someone smart, nice, and genuine, but also as cold as can be when it is needed. Point 1. October 10th. It hurts dattebane. A scream is heard through the night. It is currently night time and people are going to sleep. But while all this is happening, Kushina Uzumaki, the granddaughter of Ashina and Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, is giving birth. Normally the Nine Tails would try to escape. After all, he can't be imprisoned in some pathetic human. But what the fourth Hokage, Bawako Sarutobi, and the Enbutaji don't know is that Kurama is only acting. He actually doesn't want to escape and he sure as hell doesn't want to hurt Kushina. But to not raise any suspicion within the village and especially within the council who is still suspicious of her just randomly appearing with the Nine Tails, he will have to act as if he wants to escape Kushina. And that is what is currently happening. Kurama is forcing out his chakra while hoping that the fourth Hokage will be able to stop all of it as to not hurt Kushina and her child. Hang in there Kushina Hime, Naruto. Minato shouted. He by now is struggling with keeping up the seals. He may be a seal master and the fourth Hokage, but this is the Nine Tails we are talking about. The strongest of the tailed beasts and one who has not been seen for over 900 years before Kushina appeared. No one knows how to counter its chakra and power. One more push Kushina, come on, Bawako shouted encouragingly. She has been appointed to help Kushina give birth and she'd be damned if she was to let this birth fail. After all, she and her husband Hiruzen Sarutobi are quite close to the couple and she has no grandchildren of her own. So she might as well spoil him as if she is Naruto's grandmother until she gets some grandchildren of her own. Arg, easier said than done dattebane. Kushina shouted. Wah wah, crying was heard. It comes from a baby inside of Bawako's arm. This baby has the golden hair his father has without the spikiness though and with a minor yet obvious difference. Point 2. If you take a hair of his you will see how it goes from yellow to a very little amount of a more darkish yellow, orange to crimson, blood red ends at each hair. He also has 3 whisker marks on each cheek. Point 3. This baby is Naruto Uzumaki who was just born. Shish, it's alright Naruto. Your mom is right here, said Bawako as she gave Naruto to Kushina so she can see him before he will be taken to be tested for any allergies and illnesses. He is so cute. Hey, Minato, we finally did it. We are now officially parents, said Kushina while catching her breath. Behind her, Minato was in tears. He now actually had a son. His hair mixed with Kushina's. He was sure it would look like some kind of flame in the future. Minato wiped his tears away and took a deep breath. Alright, Kushina, I now need to reseal the Kyuubi. Otherwise, it will most likely break out, Minato stated calmly while going towards Kushina and going through hand signs. Be ready Kushina, this will age. Before he can finish talking, he was cut off by a scream. This scream was Bawako. Minato turned around and his eyes widened at what he saw. Bawako and Taji are now both laying on the ground bleeding out. But that isn't what he is so concerned about at the moment. In front of him is a man. His height is around 6 feet. He has a completely black coat with an orange mask that has multiple lines on it. And this exact man currently has Naruto in his hand with his other hand above the crying baby's head with a kunai in it. How did this man get in here without me knowing? I had nearly 100 Anbu and 3 barriers protect this room. I should have sensed him before he even appeared. Damn it, this isn't how it was supposed to go. He would have continued his train of thoughts but he was suddenly snapped out of his thoughts when the man spoke loudly yet coldly. Get away from the Jinchuriki Yondaime. The man stated coldly. Do you not care about what will happen to your little brat here? He asked with mock curiousness in his voice. Wait, don't do this. Minato shouted frantically. He was at the bargaining end right now. You don't need to do this. Let's just calm down, okay? Hey, speak for yourself. I am as calm as day. Now get away from the Nine Tails, said the man calmly before suddenly shouting the end and throwing the crying baby in the air. Hey, the man snorted shortly at the scene before grabbing his kunai tightly and jumping at the baby. Minato seeing this acted fast. He teleports to the mark he has placed on the blanket that would be used for Naruto, so he can teleport to it when he needs to. Avoiding the approaching man, he quickly used his chakra to stand on the wall. Hey, so this is the yellow flash of the leaf. You live up to your name, you know? But, how will you deal with this? Said the masked man while forming a hand sign. Minato was confused. Why was the man doing a single hand sign? He was quickly snapped out of his thoughts by something sizzling. He looked at Naruto and he noticed several paper bombs on him. Crap. He exclaimed loudly before readying himself to teleport away. Naruto. He heard Kushina shout just before he teleported away. As he teleported to a training ground of his, he swiftly removed the blanket and threw it deep into the house, before jumping straight through the door of the house. It exploded not even a second later. He was just sliding to a stop on the ground when he heard the crying again as he looked down and smiled. "Thank God you are okay," he exclaimed with obvious amounts of happiness in his voice. He suddenly winced as he looked down at himself. He has a wooden splinter in his leg. "I must hurry," is what he said before flipping the splinter into the air and disappearing. Reappearing in his private estate, he went to the bed nearby. He took out a blanket and wrapped Naruto in it before placing him on the bed. "Tch, that masked bastard. Now to find Kushina," he muttered before disappearing again, leaving Naruto alone. A few minutes before, Minato is searching for Kushina. Ugh, Kushina didn't see what was happening. After shouting for her son and seeing both him and her husband disappear, she was only able to feel pressure on her neck before blacking out. She supposes the masked man has knocked her out, and it seems that she was now gaining back her consciousness. "Where am I?" she managed to say before her vision and hearing came back full force. There she realized that she was nowhere near the village. She was currently on a rock between a random rock formation. She was chained up and seals were pretty much everywhere. In front of her, standing and looking up at her, was the masked man. "Well then, it seems you are awake. Mind answering a few questions? To be honest, I am confused as to why the Kyuubi isn't out by now. After all, he was escaping from you just a few minutes ago. And now he has suddenly calmed down?" The masked man was kind of curious and also a bit nervous. Even if he was strong, a perfect nine-tails Jinchuriki would most likely beat him into the ground, and he can't have that happen. How exactly did he get to this conclusion? Well, the moment he and Kushina were ported away, Kyuubi just stopped trying to escape. And there are only two options that could explain this. Either the seal was completed by Minato somehow, or the Kyuubi was acting. And the seal is still weakened. He can see it right now after all. That leaves the one option he kind of fears. The Kyuubi was acting, so he wanted more context. He knew she couldn't escape, so why not interrogate her? Because he needed to know. Was the Kyuubi on their side, or was he a sadist who just wanted to worry Minato and cause pain to Kushina? Because if both of these weren't the case, then he would have escaped, right? "Well then, Kushina, mind telling me your relationship with the Kyuubi? I find it, like mentioned before, quite strange that he has not escaped yet. It is as if he was acting, don't you agree?" By now Kushina was worried. If somehow word came out that she was friends with Kurama, then she could say goodbye to a housewife life. She would be forced into Anbu training and forced to take the most dangerous missions there are. She would also lose every kind of respect or trust she had. After all, a perfect Jinchuriki could have saved a lot of lives in the Third War, and she hid the fact that she and Kyuubi were on friendly terms. This may seem a little selfish, but she just doesn't want to be a ninja anymore. For all she cares, she wants to live a normal life until she dies of old age. But she knows that if this man somehow gets this information out to the rest of the world and makes it sound believable, not only will she be interrogated by the IT under suspicion of treason for keeping this a secret, but would also lose this exact lifestyle she wanted to have. And if it came to the worst case scenario, she would lose Minato. She had to lie. "I and the Kyuubi are not on friendly terms, if this is what you are pointing at. And even if I knew why he isn't trying to escape, I wouldn't tell you. And you probably know that I'm a seal master. Unless you are the Hokage and force me to release all my seals for the IT department, you will never get something out of me." She smirked slightly at the end. She knew whether Kurama comes out or not, she could still survive. And unless this man has a very advanced Sharingan, he wouldn't be able to force Kurama to come out anyways. So she was currently still very confident in her survival. And she wasn't afraid to show just that. After all, she knew that Minato will come very soon. "Oh, confident are we now? Well, not that it matters. I just wanted to confirm some stuff before doing what I came for. And you are probably right. I couldn't force you to answer me anyways. That is very unfortunate. Now then, I know that today is the day you die, so I might as well tell you my goal here." Kushina was confused. How would she die? This man couldn't just kill her. The Nine Tails would come free and kill this man after her death. And due to Kurama not being seen for over 900 years, before she appeared, makes it also pretty much impossible for someone to have a counter-sealing method for Kurama. After all, no one was able to study him, unlike the other tailed beasts. While thinking what he meant by those words, he continued, which snapped her out of her trance. You may ask how I will do that and what I am planning, am I right? He continued without waiting for her answer. Well, it is pretty simple. I intend to control the Kyuubi with my visual powers and make him attack the Leaf Village, while I go after Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash. 4. Kushina was shocked and now afraid for not only herself but also her entire village. This man just said he will control Kurama with his visual powers, which could only mean the Sharingan, the only major dojutsu with genjutsu capabilities and the ability to control the tailed beasts. And now that he mentioned it, she could see a Sharingan blazing in his eye hole. Hey, it seems you have finally realized your situation. Well, it is too late now. I will simply gather my fox pet and leave you here to die. He said before his Sharingan blazed and he stared right into the fox's eyes through Kushina. No, this can't be happening. Kushina, please survive. Kurama struggled as he tried to resist the genjutsu, but it was futile. The genjutsu was too strong and he is now forced to leave the seal. Take care, Kushina. This is probably the last time we will talk. I will say this, if I could go to the past and choose between you or get captured by the other villages, I would choose you 100 times over them. Thank you for treating me like an actual being and not a slave. Kushina was crying, not only because of the pain she felt but also because of Kurama. Besides Makoto and Yoki.5, Kurama was her best friend and companion, and if she loses him then she loses a piece of her own soul. Suddenly the pain stopped and only exhaustion remains. Why? Because the extraction has been completed. Now before her, he stood. Kurama, the Kyuubi no Yoko. And he was looking down at her with malice in his eyes. You'll not get away with this. Kushina managed to say before collapsing again. She was exhausted from the birth and on top of that, her tailed beast friend was just pulled out of her. Oh, you are still alive, now that is quite surprising. Well, considering you are an Uzumaki, maybe not so much but still. The masked man was getting annoyed by now though. He can't wait anymore. He has waited for years to finally do this and he won't be delayed anymore. Oh well, I can't have you warn the village of my plans, so I will simply kill you here. See you in the afterlife, Kushina Uzumaki. And with those words, the nine tails sprang into action. He brought his arm, leg up and readied his claws. With one swift motion, he brought it down upon Kushina, who just looked up at it in horror and rage for the masked man. The palm of his arm hit the rock formation and caused a mini tsunami for the coast nearby. He lifted his arm up again and looked below it. No blood or body was seen. The masked man was confused. After all, how could she have moved without him noticing? That is when he sensed two chakra signatures. He looked towards the nearby trees, which is where he saw them. Kushina Uzumaki, though only barely, was standing beside Minato Namikaze, who has just arrived, and was furious. He was about to go down there and show this man why he was called the Yellow Flash. But he was stopped by his wife Kushina. Don't, we have to go and protect the village and Naruto. He nodded, and with that, they disappeared. Damn it, I need to do this fast, otherwise the whole village will be ready for this. The masked man hurried. He unsummoned the nine tails and quickly went off towards the Leaf Village. Kushina and Minato appeared at their private estate. But before anything could be said or discussed, Kushina just fell down, coughing, breathing heavily, and sobbing. Minato quickly picked her up and made sure she was okay. After doing so, he carries her to the bed in which Naruto is sleeping peacefully. My son, thank Kami you are safe. I couldn't imagine what I would have done knowing you are hurt. Kushina muttered out between sobs. Minato clenched his hands into fists. Just you hope that I won't see you tonight. Otherwise, I will rip you apart, literally. Minato began walking to his closet. He took out his Hokage cloak and refilled his kunai pouch. You can never have enough kunai after all. I will be right back, Minato said seriously yet sadly. Of course, replied Kushina. And with that Minato flashed away, intent on fighting the nine tails and the masked man. Shortly after Minato left, Kushina stood up. She needed to make sure that Naruto has something just in case she and Minato die tonight. She may not like the thought, but the chance is very high, so she has to prepare. I have to make sure that Naruto will at least have something. For all I know, I and Minato will die. I need to make sure that Naruto has someone. Hiruzen will do. He was excited for me and Minato. He should be enough to take care of Naruto. Maybe a weapon for the future. Those coordinates Grandpa gave me, a picture of myself. I will also leave sealing scrolls for him, so he can train when he enters the academy. I would want him to succeed the Uzumaki and know that he even has a clan. My old Uzushio battle armor and headband should be pretty good souvenirs, reminders for him as well. I wonder if our plan B worked. If yes, then Naruto has at least some family. She smiles slightly before remembering something. A cooking book. How could I nearly forget that? If Minato dies, then someone has to succeed him, and as much as I don't like Fugaku, he would be the only possible Hokage. Orochimaru is feared. Danzo will not be allowed to be Hokage with Hiruzen around. Kakashi is still too young. Jiraiya doesn't want it. Tsunade left and Hiashi wants to remain clan head, which leaves Fugaku and only him. TCH. But knowing those two elders, they will blame the loyal Uchiha for this happening and he won't be allowed to become Hokage due to that suspicion. And if that happens, Hiruzen will have to volunteer to become Hokage and then he won't be able to raise Naruto. So just in case that happens, I will have to give him a cooking book. Wouldn't want him to only eat cup ramen or something like that. She chuckles. She gathers the stuff she wants to give Naruto and puts it inside a box. Now then, a goodbye letter explaining the situation. I hope Hiruzen follows my wish with all this and doesn't ignore it. Kushina quickly writes a letter explaining the whole situation. After doing so, she put the letter on top of the box and sealed the box inside a scroll. On another scroll she wrote, "In case I, Kushina Uzumaki, and my husband, Minato Namikaze die today on the 10th of October. All the items contained in the scroll shall be given to our son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, 6. He shall receive all of the items contained the moment he can do simple tasks like running, talking, and of course, thinking clearly. The only things that he shall receive later is the letter on top of the box that is sealed in the scroll and the red swirl patterned scroll inside of the box. He shall receive the scroll when he graduates from the academy and becomes an official ninja of Konohagakure, and the letter when he reaches either the age of 17 or becomes a chunin. I, Kushina Uzumaki, and my husband, Minato Namikaze, give Hiruzen Sarutobi complete control over the Namikaze and Uzumaki bank account until our kid, Naruto Uzumaki, is capable of managing it himself. I and my husband forbid the council and the elders from getting the money. The money also shall not be used as village funds, unless the ones who use it pay it back completely throughout max 15 years, on top of the interest the money would have gotten if sitting around. I, Kushina Uzumaki, give consent for my son, Naruto Uzumaki, to inherit the Uzumaki estate and all properties inside of the estate, as well as anything on the property. Only Hiruzen Sarutobi, Tsunade Senju, Jiraiya of the Sannin, and Anbu codenamed Dog, or Kakashi Hitaki, whatever is preferred, can enter this estate without burning to ashes. He shall receive this estate when he has learned of his father's identity, which is either when becoming chunin or when he reaches the age of 17 by default. Sincerely, Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. Imagine she signed below with both of their signatures. 12. She sighs, alright, Minato may not have been here to sign this, but I needed to do this. Otherwise those greedy fuckers would use our money for themselves. With that, Kushina puts the scroll and the last wool of hers and Minato inside her kunai pouch. Alright, time to go. I need to assist Minato. I may not have a lot of chakra left, but the amount that I do have should be enough to help him out in some way. Be safe, Naruto. And with that she left, trying to help Minato do whatever he is doing. Around 10 minutes earlier, in the middle of Konoha. My youthful rival. It is a wonderful night, wouldn't you agree? I say it's time to test our youthfulness. Might Guy is a Junin of the Hidden Leaf. He is in his late teenage years and he has befriended Kakashi, an Anbu and supposed super prodigy. They have developed a rival relationship with each other and since then have been doing contests to know who the stronger one is. Calm down, Guy. It is in the middle of the night and while most people are still out, there are still quite an amount of people trying to sleep. And no, I decline. Thank you for the offer though. Kakashi replied lazily. He was not annoyed by Guy or anything. In fact, he enjoys the company after losing his two teammates and currently being very worried for Kushina. After all, he watched her pregnancy and has more or less become attached to the child as he also sees Kushina as an older sister. 7. Ha, you are just worried that my flames of youth will outshine yours. Laughed my guy. He was sure that his own flames of youth burn more brightly than Kakashi's and he will make sure to rub that in his face. Did you say something, guy? Asked Kakashi with an eye smile. He knows that this is the perfect way to get Guy off of his back and he would do it as often as needed. You damn you Kakashi and your hip attitude. You are always acting so cool. Might Guy exclaimed loudly. His rival Kakashi always had some weird excuses to turn him down or just ignores him completely when he tries to encourage him to fight. Kakashi laughed softly. He liked Guy. He is a good guy, pun intended, and probably his best friend since Obito. Suddenly he stopped laughing and became serious. Hey Guy, do you feel that too? He asked Guy. But Guy saw this as a way to distract him from his offer to a fight. Now don't you dare change the subject, Kakashi. We will fight to test our youth. Guy shouted. He has had enough of Kakashi's excuses for today. Kakashi wasn't trying to find excuses though. No Guy, I mean that the air has just changed, it feels eviler. Huh? I don't know what you are talking about, Kakashi. Now fight me, Guy exclaimed loudly once again. Kakashi didn't pay him any mind though. He was thinking of the possibilities and what is going on. Currently sitting on the patio of a house are two children. These children are one child and one baby are Itachi Uchiha and Sasuke Uchiha. The sons of the clan head Fugaku Uchiha. Itachi looked into the sky. He just sensed something. The wind feels different. It has changed. Sasuke starts crying for no apparent reason. You felt it too, didn't you, Sasuke? That this is happening while mom and dad are out. In a private office of the Sarutobi estate. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the husband of the midwife Bawako Sarutobi, was puffing on his pipe while reading simple reports for Minato. After all, Minato can't do anything when he is supposed to help his wife give birth. The former Hokage tilts his head and puts down the paper he is holding. Something is wrong. Don't tell me the birth has failed despite all the efforts we put into the success of this birth. The former Hokage puffed one last time before putting out his pipe and laying it down. He stands up and shunshin towards a room with his battle armor. We now go to the border of Konoha. This specific border is near some major village structures like the academy and market. The market is buzzing with people. The academy is filled with chunin instructors and low-ranked jutsu scrolls. The perfect place to start an attack. A ripple in the air appears near an alleyway. No one can see it. Out comes the masked Uchiha. He swiftly looks around before raising his hand high in the air. He brought it down onto the floor with force, summoning jutsu. A big array of sealing formula appears on the ground. Then suddenly a smoke cloud bigger than several blocks of buildings appears. Buildings nearby were knocked over. People flew several meters just from standing too near. At first, the wind was the only thing that was noticed by the civilians and ninja. Though suddenly you can hear growling. The growling gets louder and louder until you can see a red eye shining from inside the smoke and 9 long tails coming out of the smoke. It's the Kyuubii, shouts a civilian who recovered before everyone else. This shout made everyone come out of their shock as they begin to scream and run away trying to reach the bunkers, while the shinobi go and attack the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi roars loudly before finally beginning his attack. He slashes entire buildings into thousands of pieces. His tails smash the academy and nearby houses. His roar itself is made of highly compressed air, strong enough to blow entire city blocks up, all the while flinging people around as if they were dolls. Over here, Kyuubi! 2 chunin shout as they attempt to harm the Kyuubi's face and more preferably the eyes of the beast with explosive tags. Which very obviously fails. This action achieved something though. Making the beast angry. The Kyuubi has had enough of these small fries, practically picking his fur apart. With one swift motion, he slaps the shinobi away. He uses his tails to destroy the buildings nearby. Entire squads of shinobi and families of civilians are getting killed. Keep the Kyuubi at bay until Lord Yondaime or Lord Sandaime arrive. Shouted a Junin in a nearby tree. His teammates and subordinates beside him just nodded and jumped away, trying to inform their superiors of the situation. When the Junin turned back around, he saw one big red slitted eye staring right back at him. Quote ellipsis. Shit. That is the last word he muttered right before the Kyuubi brought down his claws upon him, slashing him into pieces. A few minutes prior to this, Sandame-sama, the Kyuubi appeared in the village and it is going on a rampage. An Anbu appeared next to Hiruzen Sarutobi, trying to give the former Hokage any kind of confirmation he may need. I already know. Tell the shinobi to evacuate the civilians before further engaging the Kyuubi, including the children that are shinobi. That includes prodigies like Hitaki Kakashi. Doesn't matter if they are Junin or an Anbu, they are to be evacuated. Understood? The old man commanded with his voice, leaving no room for argument. Hi Sandame-sama. And with that the Anbu disappeared in a shunshin, rushing to inform the Junin commander Shikaku Nara and the Yamanaka clan, so they can give out instructions. So the seal really failed, huh? Truly a tragedy. I must hurry though. While I'm thinking about those two and my wife, the village is being destroyed. And with that the Hokage also disappeared out of the room, going towards the battlefield. Someone appeared on the Hokage monument. The Kyuubi looks towards the monument as his eyes widen a little bit, before narrowing and opening his mouth. Positively and negatively charged chakra appears all around the Kyuubi, as he tries forming a ball-like object. Noticed me? Minato pondered. He has just gotten back from taking Kushina to Naruto and now is fully prepared for the Kyuubi. I won't let you destroy this place. Minato shouted while going through hand signs. The Kyuubi has finished making the ball object. It was as Minato suspected, a Biju Dama. He fires it with a loud boom, as it destroys everything in its path heading for the Hokage monument. The ball suddenly stopped though. Now if you were to look at the Hokage monument from anywhere in the village, you would see a massive ceiling array behind the Biju Dama that stretches from the bottom of the monument, all the way up into the sky. The Biju Dama starts moving again as it slowly but surely gets absorbed into the seal. After it is fully absorbed the seal disappears along with the Biju Dama. Oi! That jutsu that deflected the Nine Tails attack. That was a teleportation barrier. Choza Akamichi, the teammate of the Junin commander Shikaku Nara and Inoichi Yamanaka. It's got to be Minato. Shikaku pondered. The Biju Dama appears far away in a mountain array, before exploding in a giant yellow ball of fire. With this much power, I've got to carefully choose where I redirect its attacks. Minato observed. One of those attacks could destroy entire villages if he is not careful enough. I've got to alert Lord Sandame right away about what is going on. He feels a ripple in the air. He quickly turns around kunai in hand, ready to ram it into the person's head, especially after he sees that it is the masked guy. His kunai and hand go right through him though. After the hand goes completely through his head, the masked man grabs Minato by the wrist. He speaks up, I'm your opponent, and you are done for. A ripple appears from his eye hole and begins distorting the air around the two. It is fast, but Minato is faster. He teleports away using his flying Raijin technique. He got away. So fast, the masked man grumbled. Next time I shall take him a lot quicker. As soon as we touch. The ripples away to find Minato and fight him. Which he does. The fight between the two goes as canon with Minato ramming a Rasengan in the back of the masked man. He transported to the kunai he threw. The masked man pondered and thought. Minato, who is still on top of him, rams the Rasengan deeper, causing him and the masked man to go deeper into the already destroyed ground. Though before he can place his flying Raijin seal on the masked man he becomes intangible and jumps away panting. Minato jumped away also and observed the panting figure. The left hand of the masked man appears to be melting. Iruka, are you alright? Kohari Amino asked her son. Bleeding from her mouth. Ma, Iruka's heart was beating fast. He was just having dinner with his parents when the Nine Tails appeared and started destroying the village. And now his mom is in front of him bleeding profusely. Pa, Maz, leave your ma to me. Now run and hide Iruka. Akaku Amino commanded his son. No, I don't want to leave you and ma behind. I'll protect ma, Iruka shouted, trying to get through to his father. Don't push me, boy. It's a parent's duty to protect their child. Akaku affirmed. The attack from here on out goes just like the canon up to the part where Kushina and Minato get stabbed by Kurama. Kyuubi, destroy that child. Kill it. Make sure you are not captured. The masked man commanded the Kyuubi. Through the genjutsu he can see what is happening. After seeing the current situation of Minato dying after using the Reaper Death Seal, he was happy. But then he saw him trying to make a new Nine Tails Jinchuriki. That Jinchuriki would be his son. He is currently preparing everything for the 8 trigram seal. Alright, now for the 8 trigram seal, to seal the other half of the 9 tails. I'm sorry Kurama, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from this fate. I'm sorry for being careless. I'm sorry for not telling them the truth. I'm sorry, Kushina cried. Minato thinks it is because of Naruto. Well, it is partially, but it is mainly because she failed Kurama greatly. She coughs up a lot of blood and saliva. She is tired. Her being too tired and out of chakra causes the chains binding Kyuubi to become loose, and Kyuubi, still under the Sharingan's influence, cannot stop himself from launching his claw at the newborn. It ripped through the air with great speed. But at its weakened state, it isn't fast enough to outspeed the worried mother and dying father. Minato and Kushina jump in front of the claw, being impaled in the process. Kushina gripped the claw tightly, not only to send some of her remaining chakra through Kurama to try and make him snap out of it, but also to make the claw stop. It worked. The chakra reached Kurama, not only because of the masked man being weakened, but also because he weakened the genjutsu himself throughout this night. He was able to break it and recognize the chakra. The Sharingan in Kyuubi's eye is now rotating. The 3 tomo are slowly going towards the pupil. After they reach the pupil, they start combining into one. After that process is done, the eye became slit again, with no sight of the Sharingan like before. The Kyuubi is now back from being controlled. But he has not yet adjusted to anything he is seeing. He is currently going through the information he got after breaking the genjutsu. He is going through the attack up to this point. Back to the parents. I said I was his father. Dying for him is my right. Minato slowly said between painful breaths. I'm his mother. It's my right too. Kushina answered. Kushina, please let me do it. Minato practically begged her. Fine, this is the first time. I lost an argument against you. It proves how serious you are. Kushina, said a sad voice from behind. No one but Kushina registered it though. She smiled. It seems Kurama is broken free from the genjutsu. Thanks, Kushina, Minato said while smiling. He puts a bit of blood on the palm of his left hand, starts going through the hand signs. Summoning jutsu. Gamatora questioned, said, and. Whoa, 9 tails. Lord Fourth, what is up with you? Gamatora, I'm going to give you the 8 trigram seal key. When I'm done, go straight to Master Jiraiya and have him take you in. I understand, Lord Fourth. I affirm to have received the key, and now I'm off. And with that, Gamatora puffs away, returning to Mount Myoboku. Now we're safe, Minato said to his wife Kushina. Kushina, I'm not going to last much longer, Minato told his wife before continuing. I'm going to launch the 8 trigram seal now, so I can put some of my chakra inside of Naruto too. Minato smiled. We won't be able to see him for a big amount of time. If you have something to say to him, I recommend you do that now. Minato chuckled, knowing his wife would talk longer than he can last. Naruto? Kushina basically tells him what she says in canon. We now go to them dying. I'm sorry Minato, I talked too much, Kushina told Minato while in tears. No, it's alright Kushina. Naruto, my words to you as a father are the same as Kushina's, I guess. With that, Minato smiled for one last time before completing the 8 trigram seal. 8 trigram seal. And with those final words, the Kyuubi disappeared into Naruto, with a seal appearing on the boy's belly. With the Kyuubi gone and the 8 trigram seal completed, Kushina and Minato fall to the ground. Minato long since dead because of the Reaper Death Seal, while Kushina is still alive, through sheer willpower alone. Hiruzen and the 2 Junin by his side rush inside the now broken barrier. One checks up on Minato, one on Kushina, and Hiruzen checks Naruto. He checks Naruto for any injuries. After making sure he has none, he scoops him up into his arms and looks towards the 2 shinobi with him. The Junin checking up on Minato shook his head sadly. The 4th Hokage, Yellow Flash of the Leaf, Minato Namikaze, was dead. He looked towards the ground before turning to the shinobi at Kushina's side. The shinobi looked up with a surprised look on his face and hurriedly shouted for Hiruzen to come. Hiruzen widens his eyes before rushing towards the 2, hoping he can do at least something to save the woman he considered a daughter. As he arrives he shouts her name in hope as a confirmation of her consciousness. She weakly opened her eyes and looked at Hiruzen with a smile. "Hello, Hiruzen, just the man I hoped I'd see." She looked towards Naruto in the old mont's arms. "I see you already have Naruto, huh?" He nodded. "Hiruzen, come here. I want to whisper something in your ear. Even though I know these two are your personal guards, I want to make sure only you know." Hiruzen nodded. He turned towards the two shinobi, and without having to say something, they understood. Hiruzen put Naruto on the ground and made short series of hand signs to block out the hearing of the two shinobi. He picked Naruto up again and went towards Kushina. "In my kunai pouch are two scrolls. One contains my and Minato's last will. Signed by me and Minato. Just in case the council is getting greedy again, hehe." She chuckled as if she wasn't death's door. "The other one is a containment sealing scroll. It has a box inside of it, with items I wish to give to Naruto. I want you to give almost every single one of them to him when he can talk, walk and think, okay? That could be before the academy or when he joins it," she told the elder. She saw him in tears. Mostly because he knows that she will die. She smiled softly at this reaction. "Anyways, there are two items I want you to give to him when he is older than that. Inside the box is a red swirled scroll. It is to be given to him when he reaches the rank of genin. The other item is a letter on top of the box. It explains everything that has happened today, that includes his father's identity. I want him to receive that either when he reaches the age of 17 or when he reaches the rank of chunin. If you see fit, you can also give it to him earlier. But only if he is really and completely ready for it. Understood?" Hiruzen nodded. "Good, now I can finally join my clan, he. She laughed softly before turning silent and limp. Kushina Uzumaki has now officially died. Hiruzen looked sad, really sad. He can't be sure yet, but he saw the state Minato and Kushina was in even before they fought the Kyuubi. That means they fought someone before all of this. All this information makes it possible that his wife, and Bogards, his wife's student, are also dead. Sandame-sama? Hiruzen turned to the voice. It was one of his guards. He looked at him with concern on his face. After all, he and his friend heard nothing of the conversation between Hiruzen and Kushina. He undid the jutsu on their ears, making them able to hear again. "Go and inform the council. We must have a meeting concerning the future of the village and we must assign a new Hokage. Call the fire daimyo while you are at it. He is the one who has the final say in the matter after all." The two nodded and shunshin away. Hiruzen looked down at the boy in his arms. He smiled. "Well, Naruto, seems like it is only us. You will have a difficult life, my boy. Targeted by the civilians and hated by the shinobi. Don't worry, I will protect you though, to the best of my abilities, that is." The council chamber was a mess. Screaming, shouting, insults, crying, sighs, silence in some corners, and calm voices with a hint of rage behind them. "Where is Yondaime-sama? What happened to Yondaime-sama?" And similar shouts were the most common ones at the moment. The door to the chamber opened, but nobody paid it mind. They wanted to know where Minato is and what the current situation is. "The Yondaime is dead," said a voice. The chamber fell dead silent. No one dared say something. Well, that is until a civilian decided to open his mouth. "What do you mean dead? Who do you think, yo?" He stopped himself, as he saw the person who said it. It was Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage, and assigned interim Hokage. "So you finally shut up, huh? Anyways." He walks over to the seat of the Hokage and sits down. "Minato sadly died tonight. He fought the Kyuubi and defeated it at the cost of his own life." The council looked horrified. Even the legendary Yellow Flash fell victim to the Nine Tails. Another voice spoke up. "What happened to the Nine Tails?" It was Hiyashi Hyuga, the head of the Hyuga. "As far as we know, the one up to the Eight Tails were never able to be killed, only sealed." "So what happened to the Nine Tails?" Hiruzen sighed. He still wasn't mentally prepared for this part. He knew that he can't keep it a secret. The Nine Tails is far too big of a power source for the council to just let unnoticed. More specifically, the Shinobi Council consisting of the clan heads. "Quite observant, aren't you, Hiyashi?" Hiyashi scoffed. He still hated how unprofessionally Hiruzen addressed everyone. "You are correct though. Minato did not kill it. He sealed it. In a newborn." Shikaku was thinking over all of this in his head. This makes no sense. Minato would never sacrifice a newborn. Even if the village would be destroyed, He just doesn't have the heart to force a family to sacrifice their baby. May I ask who this baby is and where it is, Lord Third? He finally asked. He wanted to confirm something. And he would only be able to do so if he saw the child. Hiruzen looked towards him and saw the look in the face of Shikaku. He understood automatically what Shikaku was planning. Hey, leave it to the Junin commander to become suspicious, huh? You may know of his name but you may not know what he looks like yet. After all, a newborn sleeps up to 16 hours a day and I'm sure that this council would disturb that. Every shinobi, even Danzo, sweat dropped. This is what Hiruzen is concerned about. His name is Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki to be specific. So it is their child. Hey, Minato, you are quite the fox, aren't you? Not only did you hide your wedding but you also hid the fact that Kushina was pregnant. Well, that is to be expected, but still you could have at least told me. Shikaku thought. Alone the fact that the child's name was Naruto confirmed his suspicion. He always saw Kushina around the village but for some reason, she just disappeared from the view about 6 months prior. While the council kept talking about the kid he remained to his train of thoughts. 12 to 16 weeks into a pregnancy and it would start to show. So the moment it started showing he simply put her on house arrest and didn't let her leave. Shikaku concluded. Point 8. To put aside the identity of the child. May I propose something, Hiruzen? A new voice spoke up. It was Danzo Shimura. Hiruzen sighed. He knows what will come now. He tried the same with Kushina after all. No, Danzo, you cannot have the child and you will not make it a puppet, okay? After that, Danzo seethed. This old monkey always does what he wants and not what is good for the village. Shoving that aside, we must begin with the rebuilding of the village and we will also have to a new Hokage, Hiruzen informed. Danzo thought it would be a good idea to bring in his own thoughts but he shall wait for the opportunity to do so. Sandame-sama, if I may, Shikaku spoke up. Seeing as to how this person was always close to Minato in strength and even outclassed him in political power, I would recommend Fugaku Uchiha. He finished. Everyone in the room fell silent to think about it. Fugaku always was the rival of Minato when it came to power and achievements. He even was one of the candidates for the 4th Hokage position. I will take Fugaku into account when choosing. Anyone else? 9. Hiruzen affirmed before repeating his question. I would like to recommend Danzo, said Kaharu. One of the 2 elders. Hiruzen sighs. I will take Danzo also into account when choosing. Anyone else? The room stayed silent. Alright, then let's go to the next topic. Repairs of the village. We all know that this will cost quite the money and that means one of the next 2 things. Either A. We increase the taxes for shinobi mission money by 40% for the next 5 years and civilian workers by 30% for the next 7 years, or B. Clans and companies will have to pay at least 100 billion ryo here and now so the repairs can begin. There will still be unpaid stuff but that can be repaired over time due to it not being that important. With that, Hiruzen finished and looked around. The people were arguing already. He sighs. Silence. His voice boomed through the chamber. Alright, everyone in favor of option A raises their hand. 10 out of 40 raise their hand. Mostly rich civilians who commit tax fraud secretly and wouldn't be bothered by this change. Alright, people in favor of option B. Please do the same. 14 people out of 40 raised their hands. Alright, only 24 out of 40 raised their hands. What about the rest? He looked around, especially at the ones who did not raise their hands. He ignored Shikaku though. He knew that that man wants to be neutral on this and in the end, would choose the winning option. Lord Third, if I may. Kazashi Haruno spoke up, an EX shinobi and now civilian council member, with pink spiky hair. Ah, Kazashi. Of course, please go on. Hiruzen told the man. I know that this would probably not be the most moral idea but couldn't we use the Namikaze, Uzumaki, and Senju clans bank for this? The Namikaze died out today and we don't know of any Uzumaki that are still alive. And while Tsunade is still alive, all she does is gamble away her heritage and that money could really be used for the repairs. The remaining council members who did not raise their hands made their approval clear. After all, if they can avoid using their own money, why not do it? Danzo spoke up next. If we are already at the topic Namikaze and Uzumaki, now that they are practically extinct, Hiruzen, Fugaku 10, and Shikaku gritted their teeth at this man's greed. It could practically be heard in his voice. Can we take the jutsu scrolls they have? After all, Why let them rot to dust if we can use them to make our shinobi stronger? Once again the civilians made their approval very clear. Hiruzen spoke up. Kazashi, while it is probably a good idea to use the money of someone who cannot use it anyway, it is kind of impossible for us to rob the Senju account. Not only would Tsunade pound me into the ground for allowing it, but she would also transfer all the money to a new account that we wouldn't have any idea of. Kazashi nodded. It did make sense, and like he said before, it was immoral in his state of mind. Now then to the Uzumaki and Namikaze clan. Minato and Kushina gave Me. Hiruzen Sarutobi full control over their accounts, but they also specifically forbid the council from using their money as village funds. Hiruzen said. The civilians were outraged. Why care what a dead person said? They need the money right now and should just ignore it. Sandame-sama, I hope I don't sound insulting, but should we really care? Because right now the village repairs are more important than someone's dying wish. Hiyashi tried to reason. Hiruzen nodded. Well, normally I would agree, but this is the fourth Hokage and the last full-blooded Uzumaki we know of, dying wish. The shinobi side nodded. They understood and respected that reasoning. Also, you guys did not let me finish. The council looked at him in confusion at that. In their last will, it is stated that if you wish to use the money, then you would need to sign a contract that states that you need to pay the money back in a time range that can be up to 15 years long. On top of the money that would be used, you would also need to pay back the interest it would have gotten from sitting in the bank unused. The civilians were shocked. It is as if the Fourth and Kushina wanted them to their own money. Oh no, how unfortunate, right, greedy civilians. Anyways, the shinobi had a satisfied look on their face. They would be okay with paying back the money. All they need to know would be how much the interest would be at the end of the day. If that was an additional 10 billion or something like that, they won't do it. How much would the entire interest be at the end of the day? Fugaku asked. Hiruzen looked towards him before answering. Well, if I am to be honest, I do not know yet. He chuckled before continuing. The Uzumaki once had their own village which rivaled the Leaf and the Cloud in their budget. After the destruction, almost 90% of that money came to us along with Kushina, who took it. If you then count the Namikaze account on top of that, then you might as well just look at the total budget of the Leaf and calculate the interest you would have to pay if you borrow it from there. The council was by now on the ground from the amount of shock. Hiruzen just said that those two accounts alone would be enough to fill the complete budget of Konoha before its destruction by the Kyuubi. The council decided then and there that they would not do that and instead just pay the 100 billion in advance out of their own pockets. Now then, Danzo, you asked me for the jutsu scrolls of the two clans. Well, to be honest, even if I wanted to give them to you, I couldn't. Danzo raised an eyebrows. Why not? Don't tell me it is another point in that last will of theirs. Hiruzen chuckled. No, it is not such a thing. It is just that Kushina was quite paranoid and protective of her home. So the entire property owned by her and Minato is plastered with seals that leave the decision of who can enter and who cannot, her own. Hiruzen smiled innocently at the Warhawk. I already know that I can enter, but he doesn't need to know that. The rest of the meeting was basically just giving out tasks to the individual clans and civilians of the council. Danzo, the elders, and the civilians were furious though. The elders and the civilians because they now had to pay a big amount of money out of their own pockets, and Danzo because he didn't get even a single jutsu from the two clans. Well then, if this is all we needed to discuss, then I hereby declare this meeting for over. You may begin to leave. Oh, and elders, Danzo and Shinobi? They turned to him. I will need you same time tomorrow to decide the Hokage. They nodded and left. We are again in the council chamber, but this time only the shinobi side is here, and along with them is the fire daimyo and his 5 advisors. Very well, Sarutobi, we are all ready. Let me hear your reasoning for calling me to this meeting. Hiruzen nodded. Of course, Daimyo-sama. As you already know, Minato died in the recent attack. The daimyo nodded. Ah yes, Minato-kun. I quite like the boy. I'm guessing we are here to discuss the next Hokage? Hiruzen nodded in confirmation. Indeed we are. Our current candidates are Fugaku Uchiha, the clan head of the Uchiha, Danzo Shimura, my old teammate, and my personal advisor, as well as the commander of the Anbu division called Root, and of course I myself. Hiruzen Sarutobi. The council looked shocked at this. Hiruzen was never mentioned as Hokage candidate, but they guessed he didn't need to be recommended as he already was the Hokage once. But, I shall only become Hokage if you and the council see the other two not fit enough to be Hokage. The daimyo nodded. After a short discussion about how Fugaku would be the better choice of the two, the daimyo made his decision. Very well, Fugaku Uchiha, I hereby declare you the fifth Hoka. Before he can finish, Danzo shouted. No, we cannot let him become Hokage. The council looked confused and Fugaku outraged. And why is that, Advisor Danzo? The daimyo asked. It is very simple. Hundreds of the Junin and Chunin that fought the Kyuubi that night reported that they saw a Sharingan eye in the eye of the Kyuubi. This led me and the elders to launch an investigation, and we found out that the tailed beasts seem to be able to be controlled by the Sharingan powers. We are led to believe that Fugaku ordered a Sharingan user to control the beast and attack the village so he can eliminate Minato Namikaze and take his place. He finished his explanation. This is outrageous. How dare you accuse me of such an act? I was Minato's best friend and rival. Unlike you, who tried to assassinate Minato multiple times, I have actual morals. He ranted. 11. What? When did I ever try that? Danzo shouted back. Oh please, don't act too innocent. Minato told me multiple times how Anbu of your division tried to kill him on special occasions. Twice by using poison, once by an ambush on him and twice by trying to make him explode. Oh yeah? And where is your proof that was me? Danzo smirked. He knew that they can't prove anything. Why you? Fugaku growled. That is enough. Hiruzen chimed in. Danzo, while it is true that the Kyuubi had a Sharingan eye, you cannot just say that it was Fugaku who did it. For all we know, it was some traitor in our ranks or even a rogue Uchiha. And Fugaku, please refrain from accusing Danzo of such acts. We have no proof that he orchestrated or ordered that. Fugaku sighed and sat back down, while Danzo just sat down quietly. Very well, now that you are done, I can make my decision. The daimyo took a deep breath before continuing again. Hiruzen Sarutobi, I hereby declare you the Hokage. You shall take back the title of third Hokage and become active again. And before any questions sound up, Fugaku showed that he would let himself be led by emotions, which is not something fit for a Hokage. And while Danzo would not let that happen, when you look at the option between Danzo and Hiruzen, then Hiruzen is clearly the better option. Not only has the village reigned a stable era over the course of the last 50 years with him as Hokage, but he also has more experience and strength than Danzo does. Also, the shinobi and civilians respect, trust and know Hiruzen, which isn't something I can say about Danzo. So he would be the more preferred option of the two. Danzo widened his eyes. This is not what he had planned. He wanted to take out Fugaku to secure his own place, not make sure that Hiruzen became Hokage. Fugaku on the other hand understood the reasoning and accepted it. Very well, Daimyo-sama, I will take back the hat and I will once again lead Konohagakure. Hiruzen affirmed the decision. And with that, the meeting was over. We skip around 5 years since the day of the attack. Today is the 7th of October, and when one was to go on the streets of Konoha, you would see people running around preparing something. The village seems to be a happy place. Due to some clans paying more than the council required, the repairs were finished earlier than initially planned. The village is overall just very happy and its economy is mostly recovered. The biggest loss still being the Yondaime Hokage. It was a fine Monday morning. As a 4-year-old you don't exactly have a lot to do, so when Naruto woke up in his apartment and found out about the preparations going on in the village, he was like every other kid, very excited. Swiftly he ate some ramen and pocketed an apple. After finishing his breakfast, he sprinted out of the house to inspect the village. Naruto is as average as you can be with an age of 4 years. He is 3.4 feet tall, his hair goes down to his shoulders with the tips, ends being crimson red and the rest being gold blonde. With small endurance and strength training in the forest, he has gained some pretty good muscles for a child of that age. Ooh, that tower looks so good. Normally it looks so boring, but now it looks colorful and nice. After inspecting some buildings and stands from a distance, he begins to notice the looks he was once again given. TCH, they are doing it again. Looking at me as if I was a disease. The boy continues to walk around, ignoring the glares he is getting. He is searching for Ichiraku ramen. He wanted to see if there is any special ramen for this festival. A lot of food stands are already making special candies for the festival. mostly shaped like the Yondaime Hokage or like a fox with blood at its mouth and crossed-out eyes. After around an hour of walking around, he notices how some people are smirking at him. He doesn't know why, but it doesn't look like the smirks Tuchi Ichiraku would give him. He simply shrugs it off though. He finally reaches his destination, Ichiraku ramen stand, and walks in. "Old man, Ayame-ne, are you here?" he asked. He could see the broth cooking, but he couldn't see anyone watching it. Finally, someone walked out from the back. "Ah, Naruto-kun, how are you today?" It was Ayame, the daughter of Tuchi and a very close person to Naruto. A big smile plastered over his face. "I'm good, Ayame-ne. Do you know where the old man is?" Ayame pouted. "You haven't even hugged your Ne-chan yet and you already ask where the old man is? You favor him, don't you?" Naruto answered by running into the 9-year-old girl. "Here you go, now you have your hug." "And that isn't true. I never even said that," he pouted. "I just wanted to know if he will make a special ramen for this festival going on in the village." Ayame chuckled at the boy's face. It always is nice to tease the little boy, it always results in such cute reactions. "Well, you could have just asked me, right? You know I always help out my dad." "Oh right, sorry, I forgot." He looked down at the ground. She chuckled once again. "It is okay." She got a little idea. "Hey, I'm not really allowed to do this without supervision, but wanna help me make some ramen? I'll give you very big bowls for free if you do." She asked him with a very big smile and her arms in the air to emphasize the words, very big. The eyes of Naruto sparkled. "A little bit of work in exchange for ramen? That is a good deal. Alright, let's do it." Ayame chuckled. "He is so cute. Hee hee. Sure, let's go into the back. I'll show you what you need to do." With that, the two go into the back of the shop to prepare the ingredients. It was a great day for Naruto. Ayame and he made a lot of ramen today. Sadly, halfway through Tuchi came back. And to say that he was irritated was an understatement. He and Ayame weren't allowed to just cook that much ramen for no reason, and now Tuchi had to buy more supplies. He was currently walking back home. Hands on his stomach, he ate 20 bowls of ramen and was completely and utterly stuffed. While walking he saw them again. The weird group of villagers with those smirks on their faces. It creeped him out. After all, he recognized some of the villagers and he knows very well that they don't like him that much. He tries to ignore it to the best of his abilities on his way home. He opened the door to his apartment and quickly went towards his bed. He sat down on it. He felt happy, very lonely, and sad all at the same time. With a lone tear slipping, he laid down on his bed and went to sleep. 10th of October. Naruto woke up very early. The sun hasn't even come out yet. Over the last 3 days, he became more and more suspicious and felt uneasy. At first, it was only a few villagers smirking at him, but for the last 3 days, they became more and more. He couldn't understand it. Why would they smirk at him like that when they hate him? But he also felt a bit of happiness. He knew that today the old man would visit. Also, when he asked about his parents, Hiruzen always told him that he will tell him about his mother on his 5th birthday. And that is today. He always wanted to know about his parents, and today he would finally know about his mother. After putting on his clothes, he ate breakfast and left the apartment. The morning and afternoon were quite good. Despite the smirks and glares, he got almost the entire time while walking around. It was quite nice. The ramen at Ichiraku revealed their special today. Instead of the typical yellow ramen, it was 9 very long and thick ramen noodles colored orange to resemble the kyubi. The Naruto maki, fish cake, had the form of the 4th Hokage. It was also colored similarly. The broth had a sweet taste with a spicy aftertaste, to remind the people of the night, that at first started nice and quiet and then suddenly took a bloody and terrifying turn. After eating ramen, he began exploring the village. Every single preparation was now completed and the village looked awesome. While Naruto believes that there is no need to plaster the dead form of the 9 tails on every building, he still enjoyed the overall look. After exploring almost everything, he made his way to his last destination, the gathering area in front of the Hokage Tower. After arriving, he observes all the stands that are there. He knows of past experience that the villagers will abuse the law, which allows one to beat someone that enters your property without your consent or knowledge. And technically the stands counts under that rule. After walking around for a few hours and even stealing some food here and there, he looks at the clock on a nearby building. It says the time is 7:44 p.m. Realizing that it is nearly 8 p.m., he begins making his way back to the apartment. Hiruzen said he will come to visit him at 8 and it was getting boring anyway, so he might as well be there a bit earlier. On his way back, his primal instinct as a human kicks in. He is being watched by multiple people. Normally he just shrugs it off, but he knows something is different than always. Their stares always radiate hate and fear, but this is pure menace, hate, and bloodthirstiness. Turning around, he sees an entire mob of civilians. Kunai, pitchforks, and knives in hand. He recognizes a lot of the people there in the mob. Most of them are a part of the group that was smirking at him the last 3 days or so. A kunai flew past him, followed by a slur from a civilian who is most likely drunk. Realizing his situation, he swiftly begins diving into the alleyways. These people may be older and smarter than him, but he has studied the fastest route to his apartment just in case he is one day outside while it is nighttime and in danger, and not only that, but he is also smaller than them, which allows him to use more hiding spots. Quickly he was followed by the mob. Knowing the members of the mob were most likely drunk or have drunk at least some, he begins parkouring through the alleyways, around the hobos, the stands on the street between each alleyway, and just randomly changing course. Running into another, he finds 2 trash cans made from metal. Swiftly he took the 2 lids and placed one before his torso while another was placed on his back. He knew that the moment some of the more sober civilians begin throwing kunai, he would be done for, without protection. When coming near the end of this alleyway, he finds around a dozen civilians in front of him. Instead of stopping, he simply jumps over all of them when he came near them. They saw him do pranks before. Did they not realize that he can jump at least 2 stories high? 1. Landing on the other side of the mob, he felt a sharp pain in his leg. It was a kitchen knife, most likely from the civilian in front of the mob. Knowing that he would possibly pass out from blood loss if he was to pull that knife out, he began dashing into the nearest alleyway. This alleyway is full of trash. Among those are old trash cans, trash bags, and old furniture. Surely he could hide there. Entering a side alleyway, he was relieved to see that all the trash cans from the days before were still there. Now he just needs to find a paper trash can and hide inside it before the civilians realized which alleyway he ran into. The demon ran into that one. He heard from a distance. Shit, Naruto knew he had no time now. He opened the nearest trash can and jumped into it. To his luck, it was filled with trash bags and rotten food. While it may not be healthy, it would be better to just remain in there and eat every few hours or so. He also had trash bags that he could wrap around his stab wound. "Hey Inuzuka, use your nose," he overheard someone shout. "What? No way. I might as well put my nose in literal dog shit. Everything here is filled with rotten food, blood, even used condoms. I won't be able to differentiate him from all that stuff because he has their scent by now. If you want to find that kid, then search for him. I'm only here because I need to stand guard on this shitty night." Naruto sighed. At least not everyone was out for his blood. Now all I had to do is hide below all this trash. I mean, why would they just ravage through random rotten food? And with that, the hide-and-seek began. Naruto buried himself below all the trash he can grab. The mob searched but found nothing. When they got to Naruto's trash can, they simply skipped it. No one wanted to go through all that trash. After seeing no signs of Naruto, they left the alleyway. A civilian pointed out that he may have left already and gone to another alleyway. After counting to 600 in his head, he began digging himself up from the trash. Taking a short peek from the trash can, he noticed all mob members have left by now. Knowing now is his only chance, he began making his way out of the trash can. Hey, those stupid mob members have probably skipped that one side alleyway back there. Looking towards a faraway corner of the alleyway, one could see a slim alleyway. This alleyway is connected to other alleyways only accessible through that one, and after taking a few turns here and there leads directly to his house. It is mostly used by dogs, rats, and cats, but why not a 5-year-old? And with that, he began slithering through the alleyway system. Ooh, after another 10 minutes, he finally sees the end of the last alleyway. Sticking his head out of the alleyway, he begins looking left and right. Alright, left is clear, right is clear, no mob in sight. He breathes in deeply. Okay, one short dash and I will be at the staircase. He flinched at the sudden pain. Looking down, he saw the knife he still had in his leg. While he wrapped some bags around it and used bread loaves as some kind of sponge, it still hurt like a bitch. Wiping away the sweat on his forehead, he focuses on the staircase. And only the staircase. He dashed forward. In less than a few seconds, he was there. Sighing in relief, he slowly makes his way up the stairs. After the short way, he arrives at his door. Taking the keys from his pockets, he swiftly unlocked the door. With closed eyes and heavy panting, he came inside his apartment. He was sure that he was now safe and could rest. Or could he? Naruto? He flinched at the loud voice. Opening his eyes, he saw the third Hokage. He was seated at his kitchen table. A scroll and steaming ramen on the table with a birthday cake in hands. His eyes were wide and his mouth was gaping like a fish. Quickly putting down the cake, he ran over to the child. He snapped his finger and two people appeared and kneeled behind the Hokage. Neko, you help me treat young Naruto. Inu, you would make sure no one comes here. Who knows, maybe he was followed. Of course, Hokage-sama. And with that, the silver-haired man named Inu vanished while the purple-haired woman named Neko kneeled behind Naruto to inspect the wound. Naruto-kun, what happened to you? You are covered in trash. Your pants are full with blood and you have a knife stuck in your leg with plastic bags and bread covering it. Naruto looked to the ground. I'd rather not talk about it right now. While Hiruzen wanted to argue, he knew better than to shout at the child. He seemed traumatized enough. He sighed. Neko, you continue treating Naruto-kun here. I will go get some new set of clothes for him to wear. Neko nodded. Understood. And with that, the Hokage vanished as well. Naruto felt weird. He just got hunted down and now has an unknown person cleaning him. The old man had rage, sadness, concern, and whatnot written on his face. With all this considered, he didn't know how to feel. Whether to be sad as well, confused, angered, exhausted. He simply didn't know. He felt the purple-haired woman stand up. She grabbed him around the shoulders as to not worsen the injury and carried him to the bathroom. Gently setting Naruto down in the bathtub, she made sure to not accidentally move the knife. After putting the injured leg down on the bathtub's side, she turned on the bathtub. Pulling off his shirt and pants, she began washing him. Say Uzumaki Naruto, she began with Naruto looking at her. Do you have any medical supplies or would I have to get some? She asked. Well, I guess I have some bandages but not more. It's either too expensive or I couldn't have cared enough to search for some. He answered truthfully. She nodded. Very well, then it seems we will need to wait for Lord Hokage to arrive back here so I can go get some supplies. Both of them turned their head to the door when they heard footsteps. Neko stood up and opened the door. Right in the doorway stood the Hokage with several sets of clothes. Setting them down next to the door, he coughed into his fist before turning to Neko. Report. From what I have gathered, beside the obvious stab wound, he is fine. It needs to be treated as soon as possible, otherwise it will leave scars. The knife has fingerprints on them, so we will be able to find the owner of the knife. Due to the lack of medical supplies, I decided to wait for your return to go and take some supplies from HQ. Hiruzen nodded. Very well. I expect you to be as fast as possible. We don't want an infection or scars on young Naruto. She nodded and disappeared in thin air. Hiruzen looked at Naruto, who couldn't meet his eyes and simply looked down into the bathtub. He sighed. Like I said before I left, I need to know what happened. Is that okay? The boy flinched but nodded nonetheless. Good. I'll be waiting in the kitchen for you. If you need anything, just tell me, alright? Naruto nodded. Good. And with that, he left the room. Shortly after that, Neko returned with her supplies and went to remove the knife. Quickly disinfecting the injury and knife, she began using medical ninjutsu with one hand while pulling the knife out with her other hand. Naruto flinched at the pain. Don't worry, Naruto, it will all be over soon. And with a strong pull, the knife was removed. Using her medical ninjutsu now in both hands, she began closing up the wound. While her medical ninjutsu may not be that good, the Kyuubi chakra in addition clearly helped the process. After some short time, which felt like hours to Naruto, she stopped. Opening his eye, he saw his leg completely healed. Still a bit numb and bloody, but the wound was gone. Standing up, Neko walked towards the door. Make sure to clean yourself up some more. You are still a bit bloody. I will tell Hokage-sama that everything is alright and that you will join him shortly. Naruto nodded in understanding. After finishing his bath, Naruto put on some clothes and went towards the kitchen. Arriving at the kitchen, he found Hiruzen puffing on his pipe with the now cold ramen bowl and still intact birthday cake beside him. The scroll from earlier was now in his hands. Sitting down across from Hiruzen, he said nothing and just nervously looked around. Hiruzen, seeing this, sighed. "Look Naruto, I'm not angry with you. Just a bit frustrated and worried." Naruto looked him in the eyes. Hiruzen stood up and took the ramen bowl. "I'll heat this up. It would be quite nice if you could tell me what happened with you." And with that, Naruto began. From the small group of civilians smirking up to today's events. While Naruto said all that, Hiruzen tried his best to keep a neutral face, but even someone as untrained as Naruto could see the man's rage in his eyes. When Naruto finished, he took a deep breath to keep himself calm. "We will have to talk about this again in some while. I need to know who exactly did it." Naruto nodded in understanding. "Good. Now let's eat some cake and then I'll tell you about her." Naruto's eyes widened in response. With all this stuff, he completely forgot that today is the day that he will get information on his mother. His widened eyes quickly closed due to the wide grin that now started to appear on his face. Then he remembered something, or more particularly someone. Gigi? Hiruzen looked down at him. Could those two masked people with you eat too? I'd feel bad to eat cake without them." Hiruzen looked at him with soft eyes. "Of course, they can if they wish to." And in one swift motion, the two before-mentioned people appeared on the other two sides of the table. "Inu, Neko, I know that you normally aren't allowed to take off your mask in such situations, but I'll make an exception for today." The two nodded before looking at each other and back at Naruto before starting to take off their masks. When they were done, Naruto could finally see the faces behind the masks. Well, of one of them, the person named Inu, still had some kind of face mask on and a shinobi headband over his left eye. His eye was black and his hair was still looking unrealistic. The person who treated his wounds was completely unmasked. She also had black eyes. Her lips were blood red from lipstick. Looking at her, he could also see a bit of softness and pity in her eyes. He looked back at the Hokage when his name was called out. "Alright, Naruto, I'll make it short and painless. Inu's name is Kakashi, and Neko's name is Yugo." The two before-mentioned Anbu looked shocked at their leader. The real names of Anbu are pretty big secrets. So to see their leader simply reveal their names with such casualty shocked them. Naruto nodded with the grin still on his face. After the 4-8 cake, Naruto was once again left alone with Hiruzen. Though the entire time he saw Inu or Kakashi looking at him. He couldn't make out why due to the lack of other facial structures, but almost every 2 minutes he was looked at. Shrugging it off for another time, he looked back at the Hokage. He was almost bouncing off his chair. Hiruzen chuckled at the sight. "Alright then, say what do you want to know first? Her name, occupation, skills? Name it and I will answer to the best of my abilities." Naruto wasted no time in answering. "I want to know her name and I want a picture of her." Hiruzen chuckled at the child. "Very well." He continued talking while reaching into his robe. "Her name was Kushina Uzumaki. She had red hair as you do, but hers was 100% red and not partially." Pulling out a few pictures, he put them on the table for Naruto. Pointing his finger at the first one, he began explaining. "This is your mother at the age of 10, which is when she came to the leaf. She was also a ninja already, but not a leaf one, so don't be confused. I'll tell you about that later." Pointing at the second picture, he saw his mother with the same headband he saw everywhere in the village, with a face-splitting grin on her face and her hand formed in a peace sign. "This is shortly after your mother graduated the Leaf Academy. She took the record by graduating in only 3 months' time. But she was overshadowed by prodigies like Minato Namikaze, who graduated a bit after she did but with a lot more skills. But that isn't important right now. You will learn about him in the academy." Naruto nodded, being surprised that his mother graduated in 3 months. Hiruzen pointed his finger at the third picture. It showed his mother with one of those green vests that all the shinobi he sees wear. Weirdly enough, she had another one in her hands colored in a darker shade than the one she had on. Her face was once again split by her grin. "This is when your mother reached the second highest rank you can achieve, Junin." Naruto was looking proud and amazed. His mother was such a skilled shinobi? Then he looked more closely. "Hey, Gigi?" He looked at the boy. "How old was she? She seems only slightly older compared to the other pictures." Hiruzen chuckled. "Well, she was 14. She didn't change or grow much in those 4 years, so it's expected, I guess." Naruto nodded. Well then, let's go to the last picture for now. Pulling one last picture out of his robe, he placed it in the middle of the table. It showed a much older Kushina with a bulged belly between Hiruzen and another woman he did not recognize. This is me, my wife, and your mom. She just got confirmed to be pregnant with a boy, or more specifically you. And well, I saw her as a daughter, and so did my wife. So we decided to take this picture. Naruto looked both glad and sad. Technically he was in this picture. Right below that belly, a lone tear slipped from his eye which he quickly wiped. Hiruzen smiled, not only because of the obvious happiness seeping out of the small child but also because he finally got a bit of pressure off his back. His eyes went to the scroll that was left on the table. I will let you keep those pictures, Naruto. And while I would gladly let you look at them more, we still have something else to look at. Naruto looked up at the Hokage with confusion, satisfied with what he knew already. Hiruzen sighed and pointed at the scroll before him. Naruto looked at it and just now realized that he had completely forgotten about it. This scroll contains some gifts from your mother. Like I told you before, she died in the Kyuubi attack 5 years ago. Naruto looked at the pictures in his hands sadly, just now remembering that fact. Just in case she wouldn't make it that night, she prepared this scroll for you. Souvenirs, pictures, a few words directed at you, clothes, you name it, it's in here. Naruto now looked excited while still a little bit sad that his mother was dead. Rolling out the scroll on the floor, he pulled out a bottle with red liquid and put a bit of it on the scroll. After doing so, he put the bottle away and smashed his hand on it. Shortly after, a box as big as Naruto's table appeared. Hiruzen walked over and opened it. Naruto tried looking inside, but he was too short for that. Hiruzen laughed softly as he took one of the chairs and put him on it. Let's go through it, shall we? Naruto nodded eagerly. Hiruzen first pulled an envelope out. Opening it, there was another picture of Kushina inside. Quickly giving it towards the eager Naruto, who wanted as many things as possible. Next, he pulled out red plates connected by chains. It instantly reminded him of his second sensei, the first Hokage. Attached to one of the plates was black headband with a red swirl on the metal piece. Oh, this takes me back to my young years. Hiruzen chuckled. Naruto looked confused at both Hiruzen and at what he had in his hands. Hiruzen could see that confusion quite well and decided to elaborate. This is the old battle armor of your mother and her headband. The battle armor of Uzushiogakure and the headband of Uzushiogakure. Naruto was confused as to what Uzushiogakure is, but he was like before excited to have such a souvenir. Next, Hiruzen grabbed another scroll with the kanji for weapon on it. Laying it out, he unsealed whatever was inside. Inside was a kunai pouch with kunai. They were smaller than normal kunai, but they seemed to be high quality. Besides the kunai pouch, there were also 2 sheathed weapons. Hiruzen can already guess what they are but wanted to make sure. Unsheathing the shorter weapon, he quickly discovered a typical short sword very similar to the ones his Anbu carries. Though he recognized the weapon instantly. It was the personal weapon of the Uzumaki royals. Passed down for centuries to come. No one understood how it was possible, but believed to be a popular saying in display in battle. It has not once been chipped or destroyed. Much like the legendary sword of Kusanagi, it is also said to be able to cut almost everything. Quickly sheathing the short sword again, he laid it down on the ground. Taking the second weapon, he found the weapon he suspected. It was a 7 feet, 213 centimeters, long odachi. The blade is 6 feet, 182.8 centimeters, and the tang is 1 foot, 30.4 centimeters, long. Its blade was crimson red. This was the sword of the Red Death of Konoha, Benihime. Hiruzen sighed. So she really wants to give you the Benihime? Naruto raised an eyebrow and tilted his head to the right. Hiruzen looked confused before realizing Naruto knows nothing about the sword. Benihime is the sword your mother used the most in combat. It means Crimson Princess, which comes from your mother being the princess of Uzushiogakure and its blade being crimson red. Naruto looked shocked at 2 things. 1. His mother was called the Red Death, and 2. She was a princess? My mom was a princess? Does that make me royalty? Hiruzen chuckled. Indeed it does. You are the son of the 8th princess of Uzushiogakure. Which makes you the 10th prince of Uzushiogakure, or 18th heir if you prefer to say it like that. And before you ask why your mother was only a princess, she wasn't able to be crowned as leader of Uzushiogakure due to special circumstances. Naruto looked confused though. If he was royalty, why was he treated like this? Before being able to voice that question, Hiruzen continued. While I know that Kushina intended for you to use this sword, it just doesn't make sense to give a 5-year-old such a big and heavy blade. I'll give it to you, Naruto, but I advise against using it until you are older. Naruto nodded in understanding. The thing was twice as long as he was tall. Next, Hiruzen found another scroll, but it was a lot thicker than the other ones. Opening it, Hiruzen found not a seal but something similar to the books in the library. Just instead of it being about several themes, it is only about the Uzumaki. I see, Hiruzen muttered, so you want him to succeed you? Gigi, what is written in there? Naruto asked rather loudly. Hiruzen chuckled. Well, Naruto, this is the history and information about your clan, the Uzumaki. Naruto's eyes widened. He was not only a royal but he also had a clan. I will give you this scroll so you can read through it. It is not my duty to educate you about something like that. I think you should explore this yourself. Naruto nodded and Hiruzen put the scroll to the other scrolls on the table. After that, he came next to Naruto and they went back to going through the box. And with that, the two continued going through the contents of the box. Some of them were exciting Naruto, others were expected, and again other were confusing. But it was nonetheless the best day he has had in his entire life. The two now were down to only one item left in the box. It was a red scroll with swirl patterns all over it. But instead of speaking of it or opening it, Hiruzen simply packed it away. Huh? Gigi, why did you put that away? Naruto asked with confusion evident. Oh, sorry. Did I forget to mention that your mother requested that you shall get some of these items when you're older and not now? Hiruzen asked with fake curiousness. Huh? Yes, you did. Naruto shouted at the old man. Hiruzen chuckled at the small outburst. Looking at the clock, he saw that it was already 1 a.m. in the night. He sighed. This will be a long night for him. We have only one thing left to do, Hiruzen said. Naruto tilted his head and raised an eyebrow in confusion. What do you mean? Hiruzen motioned for Naruto to follow him. They sat back down at the table and Hiruzen pulled out a few papers with the stamp of the academy on it. Congratulations, Naruto. In approximately 6 months you will officially join the academy. Normally you would have to pass the entrance exams, but consider this a birthday gift from me. He grinned at the boy who looked shocked at the gift. Naru, but before he can finish his question, Naruto lunged forward into the old man and hugged him. Thank you for being here, Gigi, and for this gift, he said. Pulling away from the hug after a few minutes, Hiruzen pardoned himself and prepared to leave. Well, then, Naruto, this evening was really nice and relaxing, but I would have to leave now. The work still calls and the festival is also going on. Keep care and have a good night, my boy. Snapping his finger, the two Anbu stood beside him, though Naruto could feel their gazes. Inu, Neko, you are free from duty for now. Enjoy yourself, I will call for you tomorrow. The two nodded before disappearing out of the room. Hiruzen coughed into his hand. Well then, like I said before, have a good night, Naruto, my boy. And with that, the old man disappeared. Naruto didn't know what to do honestly. He wanted to find out about his clan, he wanted to swing that weapon he got, he wanted to look at his mother's pictures, and he wanted to try so many things, but he wasn't sure with what he should start. In the end, he decided to simply go to bed while securing everything he got today, excluding the weapons and pictures of Kushina in the box and below his bed. He would sort through that another day. Not this late. Ooh, it's the next day. Naruto decided to take the short sword and go to the woods. He needed some cabinets and holders for the stuff he got yesterday, and he'd rather build it himself than buy it for a ridiculous price. Using it to cut down a tree, he got to work. Naruto was now in his apartment again. Scattered across it were pieces of wood. Smooth ones, X-formed ones, poles, and planks. Whatever you wanted, you would find at least one piece of it there. He plopped down on his bed exhausted. Dragging all that wood here into his apartment and making furniture out of it took a toll on his stamina, but he was done. Standing next to his bed was a cabinet. On it was the pictures of Kushina, which sadly were not framed yet. Besides the cabinet was a mannequin, armor stand type thing, on which the old armor and headband of Kushina were put on. Above both of those was the benihime attached to the wall. Opening the cabinet, one could see multiple scrolls. Recipes, last words, sealed clothes, books for studying. Everything he could need was in there. He would need a closet for the clothes, but he can worry about that another time because he had something more interesting right now. Looking over to his side, Naruto could see a scroll. It was the scroll with the information about the Uzumaki inside of it. He stood up and got a glass of water to refresh himself. After doing so, he took the scroll into his gentle and small hands and took a deep breath. After making sure he was calm, he opened it and began to read. Short summary about the sealing masters of the land of whirlpools, the Uzumaki. A more complete and complex version is most likely available in your local library. Well, that sucks, they don't even let me in that stupid place. Contents: history, conflicts, alliances and relations, leaders, techniques. Deciding to begin with the history, he began reading. The Uzumaki, a clan that is known for its sealing, knowledge, unique fighting, richness, and wisdom. A clan that could rival the Senju and the Uchiha, but how did it all begin? Well, with that we had to go back in time. Back to the end of the Sage of Six Paths' reign. A boy with vibrant red hair and potential was born. His name? Omoikane. According to the logs within the clan, Omoikane was smart, handsome, rich, nice, powerful, and wise. Everything a person can desire. He and he alone is the reason the Uzumaki exist. Also, according to the same log, he has allowed his followers to have children with him, regardless of marriage or any kind of deep relationship. If desired, he would sponsor his semen if the wish of a child was there. And so he did. It went from 1 Uzumaki to 300 in 1 year and 500 in 2 years. While all the other clans killed each other and robbed civilian villages, the Uzumaki bred, and trained, and bred until they were the most populated and powerful clan. According to rumors that started from the past Senju leader, the Uzumaki had a statue. This statue seemed to be made out of gold and strange crystal, which over time would reveal themselves to be emeralds and rubies. Its shape resembled the clan animal of the Uzumaki, the dragon. Weirdly enough, shortly after the Hidden Leaf Village was formed, it was never seen or mentioned again. People speculate that it was either stolen, sold, or hidden. According to the royal bloodline of Uzushigakure, dragons are animals that were honored by their family, which is why they had made a statue of it. Not everyone believed it, but nothing else was said about that. Naruto finished. Seems like my clan is quite strong. Wonder how I've never heard of them. Decided to find out more, he continued. Before the founding of the 5 great villages, the Uzumaki were in constant conflict with the Uchiha and smaller clans, trying to push them away from Whirlpool Country. According to old sayings and legends, there was a battle between past leaders Omoikane Uzumaki and Hachiman Senju, which nearly caused an outbreak of war between the two. Luckily for both sides, they didn't go so far and remained peaceful and allied. Naruto stopped reading. Senju? Like those two Hokage? Shrugging it off, he continued reading. In the First Shinobi World War, it was a little bit different. Unlike the Warring States period, they didn't wage any war against the nations. While Uzushigakure was allied to Konohagakure and sent seals as well as supplies, they didn't aid each other in any major battles against other nations. According to rumors, the Uzumaki were only spared from the war because the other 4 villages suspected a tailed beast was in their possession, and because of that didn't want to risk anything. After Hashirama Senju, leader of the Senju and Shodai Hokage, convinced the other Kage that war was not necessary, they all came to an agreement. But not before Sanagakure decided to demand atrocious things, one of which was that Konoha would not accept any support from Uzushigakure in case of war, whether outside or inside its own nation. Naruto finished the conflicts part. Strange. I once heard a villager say something about the Third Shinobi World War, but this only mentions the First World War. Why are the others not mentioned in this? Naruto mused in his thoughts before quickly realizing something. Oh right, Gigi said this was from Uzushigakure, which means my mother must have brought it with her when she was still a child. It's probably outdated in some things. Anyways, Naruto stopped thinking about it and went back to the scroll. The Uzumaki, said to be descendants of the Sage of Six Paths, also shared distant blood relation with the Senju clan. Through the years, the Uzumaki and Senju kept close ties, with members at times marrying between clans, as with Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki, a princess of the clan. Konoha and the Uzumaki's own Uzushigakure remained close allies over the following decades, with the Uzumaki providing fuinjutsu, among other things, to Konoha whenever there was a need. Alongside the Senju clan, the Uzumaki clan also have close bonds with the Kagaya clan after gaining mutual respect. Naruto finished now with wide eyes after realizing something. Wait, does that mean I'm related to those two Hokage? Hashirama Senju and Tobirama Senju? Because Hashirama Senju was said to have married an Uzumaki princess. Naruto's eyes became narrowed. I gotta question the old man about this when I see him again. Deciding to do just that, he began reading once again. Skipping over a few, he got to the ones he was interested in. Omoikane Uzumaki. Being the founder of the clan Omoikane was said to be many things. Strong, handsome, smart, wise, nice, and many others. Though a few things were proven. He was a renowned kenjutsu user and a fuinjutsu genius on a caliber of his own surpassed by no one. Ashina Uzumaki. The leader of the Uzumaki is very renowned. With his old age of course came wisdom. But also experience. According to elders and Ashina himself, he is very well versed in the fuinjutsu and kenjutsu art. But not only that, but his ninjutsu and genjutsu also aren't too bad. While his genjutsu was also often activated with seals, it was still genjutsu. He used water, earth, and wind ninjutsu. Mito Uzumaki. The firstborn of Ashina Uzumaki was exceptional from birth. Her chakra is said to be intoxicating to the infamous Biju. She is advanced in the Kekkei Genkei 2 of the Uzumaki, the adamantine chains. She has mastered fuinjutsu to an extent that she surpassed her father Ashina Uzumaki, and she has a special ability which is to sense negative emotions. Besides emotion sensing, she is also capable of sensing chakra like Tobirama Senju, brother of her husband, Hashirama Senju. Naruto's eyes were sparkling with complete confusion and amazement. Some of the things said here were very impressive and cool. Emotion sensing, chakra sensing, fuinjutsu tilde whatever that was tilde mastery, and kenjutsu and Kekkei Genkei? What is that? Meh, I don't care, it sounds cool. Getting to the last section, techniques, he began reading. He knew that these techniques weren't all of them but only well-known ones, but he was alright with whatever he can find. Like before with the leaders, he skips around several techniques for now so he can focus on the more interesting ones. Uzumaki sealing technique. After forming the necessary hand seals, the user slams their hand on the ground, after which a sealing formula, that originates from the user's hand, forming underneath the target. When the seal activates, anything above the inscription is sealed within the formula itself. Hand seals. Rat, ox, dog, clap hands, boar, slam hand on ground. Healing chakra, healing bite. Through, for example, biting one can absorb and consume the chakra of the users and use it to heal themselves or others. This ability has been shown to heal even life-threatening injuries and is also capable of quickly restoring the stamina of those healed. This technique, however, rapidly depletes the user's chakra reserves, leaving them with a presumably permanent bite mark after each use. Due to the technique's accelerated depletion of chakra, it is dangerous for one to use this ability too regularly. No hand seals are required. Inherited ability. Adamantine chains, sealing version. This is a sealing technique that is characteristic of the Uzumaki clan. Users produce chains made out of their chakra, which typically emerges from their torso or back. Users control the chains as they extend outwards from their body, most commonly to wrap around targets and restrain them. The chains are extremely durable, enough that even the 8 tails would struggle to destroy them. In addition to physically binding targets, the chains are said to neutralize their target by binding and nullifying their chakra. Depending on the number and the length of chains that users intend to produce, they may prefer to initially create only a few chains, which they send underground to split apart and spread around the area as needed, leaving their immediate surroundings uncluttered. A barrier can be erected between 2 or more sealing chains, which is quite impregnable. Attack version. Through using the same principle as the sealing version, Uzumaki can also attack with it. When intentionally used for this purpose, an Uzumaki can also sharpen its tip and sides, making it more deadly. Such actions were seen being used by several people, though Mito Uzumaki is the most notable of the bunch. In the First Shinobi World War, when Kumogakure attempted to kidnap her as leverage against Senju Hashirama. In this little encounter, Mito Uzumaki killed almost 80 Junin with just one chain. A single touch was enough to inflict life-threatening wounds. Naruto was kind of scared but also amazed by the last one. It sounded very strong and effective but also brutal. He can only imagine what it would feel like to get sliced open by a chain alongside almost 80 comrades. He shuddered at the thought. Deciding that he would read and learn about the other techniques on a later date, he decided to get some training in. It was a calm and normal day for one Itachi Uchiha. He woke up, went to eat breakfast, wished his brother goodbye before going out to meet up with his Anbu squad. He had just recently joined the Anbu and was now under command of the Sharingan no Kakashi, or cold-blooded Kakashi, how many of their enemies called him. After finishing a few missions that included taking out a bandit camp or hunting down a rogue Chunin, he was dismissed by his squad leader. Deciding to go train with his best friend and teacher Shisui Uchiha. After sparring with each other and catching up on anything new, it was time for Itachi to go back home. After all, it was 6 p.m. already and he promised to be home at 7, which is when his mother cooked dinner. After packing up all his stuff, he said goodbye to Shisui and went on his way. Shortly after leaving, he came across the sounds of wood splitting and huffing. Deciding to check it out, he went towards the sounds. 2 training grounds across from where he came from, he found the sound. It was a 5-year-old boy with shoulder-long hair similar to his own, though it was crimson red and blonde instead of black or raven like his. The boy had a small sword which he found very similar to his tanto from Anbu. The boy was seemingly training with it. According to his observation, the boy slashed 50 times in the air while remaining in a standard stance. After he finished the 50 slashes, he would slash against low enough branches and trunks of trees as fast as possible. He remembered doing the same thing but with bamboo mats a few years back. He also easily recognized the boy. It was Naruto Uzumaki, the son of Kushina Uzumaki, from what he has observed, and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi that attacked his village. Deciding to watch if Naruto would do anything other than repeat these two, he instead found something else. It seemed that Naruto's biceps were too stiff. His legs were too far apart and he didn't regulate his breathing, which could complicate things. Sighing, he decided that he would help out the little child and then join his family back home. He shunshined right behind Naruto. "Yo," he said. Naruto, obviously not expecting this, jumped in fright and gave a quick, "Aw." Turning around, he saw Itachi looking at him amused. Annoyed by the guy already, he decided to ask, "What, can't you see that I'm busy?" Naruto asked with one brow raised. Itachi chuckled. Naruto acted quite similarly to his friend Shisui when it came to this. Yes, I saw you trained with your tanto. Though while observing you, I noticed a few things wrong and decided to help you out." Naruto looked shocked. "No shinobi ever helped me, well besides that lady and Hokage Gigi. Wait, what if he is trying to manipulate me?" His eyes narrowed again and he looked suspicious. It was obvious enough for Itachi to realize the situation. He sighed and shook his head. "I assure you, Naruto, I do not want to manipulate you or any of the sorts. I do not have any problems with you. I just wanted to give you a few pointers and then leave. Oh, also my name is Itachi Uchiha." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Uchiha? Like those from that scroll?" Deciding to trust him, he nodded his head. "Alright, I'll trust you for now, Itachi." Said person smiled. "Now tell me, what exactly did you find wrong with my exercise?" Itachi quickly answered, "Well, for one, the muscles in your biceps are way too stiff. It could, even if only temporarily, damage them if you keep this up with no change." Naruto nodded in understanding. "For another, your legs are spread apart too widely. You should put them more together for a better footing. It also relaxes the muscles you stretch when putting your legs apart so widely." Naruto's sweat dropped. He had failed to do something so simple? "And lastly, your breathing. You need to regulate it more. It lowers your heartbeat, reduces stress infliction, and helps stabilize your blood pressure. All those things can be helpful for when you become a shinobi and are on the battlefield. A lower and slower heartbeat will keep you calmer and it will be harder to detect you. Low stress levels can make you think more rationally and it will help you in keeping your hair color." Naruto looked terrified at losing his beautiful hair. Itachi chuckled. "I'm joking, that will only happen when you will become much older. It may also help you with other things, but I don't need to name them all. After all, you will have to learn those benefits in the academy." Naruto nodded, seeing the point. "Good, well, then I'll leave you to your training then. I'm expected somewhere. See you around the village, Naruto." And with that, he disappeared. "Oh, yeah, bye." He waved at the now empty spot before continuing his training, now using Itachi's tips too.